My name is Rob Dauster. We have a couple guys that have experienced being first-round picks. John Henson was in the green room. He was the last pick in the lottery in the 2012?
2012, yep.
2012 draft. We got Randolph Childress, who was the 19th pick. I'm not going to date you, RC.
Don't do that to me.
I'm going to be respectful. Let's just say it was a little while ago. And we got my man that was the first pick of the Slovakian draft in the 2011. None other than Clemson's own Terrence Oglesby. We're going to break down every single pick. We are going to have a long conversation about Victor Wembanyama and just how good he ends up being. We got to talk about trades. We got to talk about the Warriors, who may be the oldest team in the history of basketball. They look like a men's league right now. But before we do all of that, we got to get into the Scoot Henderson, Brandon Miller debacle, I think is the best way to phrase it. Some of us may have wagered quite a bit of money on Scoot Henderson going as the number 2 pick. I don't know if that's going to end up happening. We got a battle. We got a source off here, guys. We got Sham saying it's going to be Scoot. We got Woj saying it's going to be Brandon Miller. Henson, I'm going to go to you first on this one. If you are Michael Jordan, if you are the Charlotte Hornets, who would you be taking with the second overall pick?
From our perspective, I got to see Brandon Miller a lot more, so I'm definitely going to take Brandon Miller, I would say. If it was I think his positional fit is better. However, you do take the best player. So we weren't in those workouts, we weren't in those meetings. So we don't really know what they're seeing kind of behind the scenes. But I'm going to take Brandon Miller. But if Scoot Henderson is the better player, then you have to take him. Point blank, period.
RC?
I take Brandon Miller only because I think it's what you have. And if you did take Scoot, then I think you're telling everyone, I'm not paying LaMelo Ball. And in a league where you need 6'8", 6'9" wings, as talented as Scoot Henderson is, and I think he'd be a big-time player. I just think Brandon Miller is more of what you have to have if you want to have a successful run in the NBA. And so I think his size and shot-making ability, I take right now over Scoot for that
team. If you guys were GMs, you'd be picking in the lottery a lot, so there'd be a lot of practice there. You got to go Scoot. You got to go Scoot.
No, man.
What are you talking about?
No.
That's Derrick Rose.
It's interesting because if Scoot is in fact the better player, if you believe that, then who cares about positional fit? But I do think Brandon Miller is, you don't find too many 6'9" swing men that can kind of have a Hall of Fame All-Star type ceiling. You got to go there.
Yeah, see, that's what I think Scoot has. 6'1" or 6'2", huge frame. I mean, I don't know what his wingspan is. I'd be shocked if it wasn't 6'8", 6'9". That kind of explosiveness, that's where you got to go to. In the top 3-4 picks, you don't go for fit. You go for fit, after 10, in my opinion. The first 3 picks, you're trying to go with the highest upside.
That's where I'm at with it, too. When was
the last time a 6'2" guard took you somewhere for that high? Not just a player, but when was the last time you had a 6'2" guard take you to a championship? Because that's what you're thinking in the top 3 pick.
I'm thinking of Derrick Rose of Chicago before he got hurt. That's the last comparable dude, just because of
I agree
how wide he was.
No, I agree with you. He's definitely that's his comp. But I think that's also the concerns when you're a 6'2" guard.
If I'm the GM of the Hornets, I'm trading LaMelo. I'm going all in right now. I'm trading LaMelo.
Listen.
I'm trading in. I'm trying to trade LaMelo, draft Scoot, get Zion back to North Carolina because that's the only place he can stay healthy for longer than 3 games. And then I'm trying to bring PJ or what's his name? Miles Bridges back on the cheap. You were loaded. You were loaded. I'm a Mark Williams fan too.
I think that's what I think Portland should do. I think Portland should draft him 3rd and trade Dame.
Yeah.
And trade Dame?
Yes.
Yeah.
See, I disagree. If you got Scoot Henderson and Anthony Simons, why would you want to learn? Why would you want them to learn from anybody other than Dame Lillard? It's got to be him. Well, you got to have
at this point. You feel bad for Dame
because going forward, you're not going anywhere, right? So the haul you're going to get back for Dame, now you can add stuff with them, whether it's veteran pieces or whatever. You can get leadership in a trade.
And Dame is making $60 million a year. That's not a guy that you want to. That's just not a learn from guy. You need him playing.
I think 3rd I would do it. I think 3rd I would do it, and I would trade Dame. I mean, that would be whether he wanted to or not. I respect that he wants to stay in Portland because nobody does. But if I'm his franchise now, before his game declines, I'd approach him. I trade him.
All right, so let me lay out my argument for Scoot here. This is why I think you got to go with Scoot at number 2 over Brandon Miller, because I think when you compare him to anybody, when you watch him play, Derrick Rose, easy comparison to make, right? I see Russell Westbrook there because of the explosiveness, because of the ability off the dribble. I think Scoot's a better passer than people give him credit for. And, obviously Russell Westbrook averaged a triple-double. He could pass. He knew how to play. He knew how to play off of ball screens. I think that Scoot's upside is MVP. I don't think that you can say the same thing about Brandon Miller. And when you are drafting with the second pick, like, you got to hit home runs. You're not trying to hit singles and doubles. I don't think that when you're a 17-win team, like the Hornets were, I don't think that you could sit there and say we need to pick for fit, because you're bad. You're not good. You're terrible. You got to go for the guy that could be the franchise changing player. I think Brandon Miller could be an all-star. I don't think that he has the same kind of upside as Scoot does. So I think you got to try to swing for the fences, right?
I think you guys have given a comp, and he's got a great all-time comp. But at the end of the day, name me 6'3" guards that's taking you to a championship.
Hey, this is Charlotte. We're just trying to get to the
You mean other than Steph Curry? You mean other than Steph Curry?
Championship?
But that's my point.
The playoffs.
Steph Curry is the greatest shooter. Like, we can't pick the he's the Omega. I mean, there's no comparison to that. Like, that's just a different animal, different regime. I don't mean, he's not that. I'm not, look at it. I'm not saying like I'm not a fan of Scoops at all. I just think if I'm Charlotte, I take Brandon Miller. I think he's, like you said, he could, but that's only because we're comparing him to the youngest MVP ever. Like, there ain't been but one Derrick Rose.
And also in the finals and championship finals history, I think in the last 8 finals, the MVP has been a forward. And Jokic happened to be a center, but like, I think before this year, I think in the last 6 or 7 finals, the MVP of the finals was a forward. So that should tell you something kind of about. I think there's more Scoots out there than Brandon Millers, and there's not a lot in general, but I think you can find you a Scoot before you're going to find a guy like Brandon Miller, 6'9", defense, plays the right way, shoots the ball, multi-positional. I do believe he's the pick, but we're not sitting there. We're not Jordan. We don't know what he's thinking, so it's going to be interesting.
Polarized. Right, so is Scoot better than Ja?
No chance.
They're the same. He's bigger than Ja.
Here's what I'll say about that. Your best ability as a basketball player is availability, and I don't think that we're going to have to worry about Scoot getting suspended for 25 games at a time. So you asked. Look, the pick for the number 1 pick in this draft was obvious. It was always going to be Victor Wembanyama. This was the Victor Wembanyama draft. He is as good of a prospect as we have ever seen in basketball ever, point blank, period. I think Woj was the guy that said that he was better than LeBron as a prospect. I don't know if I'm going to go that far. But
if side by side. So here's my argument there. Side by side, like they're both still in high school. Like, I remember how much hype was around LeBron. Like, it was insane. I'm sure you guys do too. But like the hype is equal with Wembanyama, and he's a foot taller. Yeah, he might not be a foot taller now, but he's at least 6 to 7 inches taller, because I think LeBron's damn near 6'10". So like,
I watched the clips. I mean, literally, I've seen clips all day. Obviously, today I was sitting in the green room watching highlights of him like on ESPN, and literally, I'm like jaw dropped. Like and I've seen the same thing over and over and over. I just can't get over how dynamic he is. You see him holding a baseball, like, I mean, it's like a grape in his. I mean, like.
That was wild.
With the new NBA and how things are going and the spacing, like, when his frame fills out and he gets comfortable, I saw the picture of him beside Rudy Gobert, like, he is bigger than Rudy Gobert. And
substantially.
And Rudy Gobert is signed $250 million max deals. And he does 10 times more than him. So it's scary what he could become if he stays healthy.
That's the if. That's the big if. Yep. Right, T.O.?
That absolutely. Big players, big feet, like super long feet. Whenever you guys have seen his warm-up routine, he's over there working on his big toe and everything, and he's got 2 canoes he's having to lug around. Like, that's the big thing that scares me. And another thing too, John, I want to ask you this, because I feel like when guys get to the NBA, they want to put weight on them, he's kind of gone against that, and I agree with it. in today's game, I'm not sure that that's necessarily needed. If anything, it's going to hurt him more than help him.
Yeah, he'll naturally fill. I mean, I look at his frame and just kind of how he's built. He'll fill out. He's going to get some size on him. I just remember, when I came into the NBA, I was a forward. At Carolina, I was power forward. Game changes, game gets faster, smaller, so I transitioned to a 5. And the physicality difference between the 4 and the 5 is literally night and day. And so hopefully they ease him into that 5 spot and get him a little stronger. But him starting off at the 5 right away, I don't think it's a great idea.
There's no way they'll do that. He's going to the best organization to help him with that.
Yep.
I mean, it's almost like it was handpicked. Like if he was going to go anywhere, the Spurs was the best place for him for the reasons we're talking about. The concerns physically.
Yeah.
I think he'll get stronger. He doesn't need to get necessarily bigger. He'll get a little bigger, but he just needs to get stronger.
Yep.
So the pick is officially in. Victor Wembanyama, number 1 draft pick, going to the San Antonio Spurs. I will say this: they just showed those guys that had the starter, the teal Spurs starter jackets with the Wembanyama on the back. Like, I got to get me one of those.
Fire.
those that was nice.
So would you wear a jersey with another man's name on your back, Dauster? That's the question that we need to know here.
I mean, yeah, like why?
He does it all the time.
I just feel like there's an age appropriate thing where like you get past 25 years old, you can't wear another man's name on your back.
I mean, look how much bigger he is than everybody he's hugging.
Yes.
Like
that's the crazy thing about watching his highlights, right? Is that you see a guy that is quite literally 6 inches taller than you, John. He's 6 inches taller than you, and he's probably naturally kind of like a 3-4, right? He's got the handle, he's got the step backs. It's just I don't think we've ever seen anything like him.
I appreciate the look that Wembanyama has, because there's some wild suits out there in these streets today.
I mean, Grady Dick had on the I don't know what movie that was with the red suit, but I mean, Grady Dick.
Vanilla Ice.
I actually like Grady Dick a lot more until I saw the suit he was wearing. Now I'm worried about him.
You know what I like about Wemby? Not to cut you off. The thing that really stood out to me is, I don't know, did you guys listen to him on the JJ Redick podcast that he did?
Yeah.
Yeah. The fact that, 1, he is as well spoken as he is, when 2, he is speaking English as a second language for him. That's something that really stood out to me. Is there's a lot of guys, especially players of his caliber, right, that grow up in the United States, to get everything given to them. They get all the hype, they get all the buzz, they get all the publicity. Like, you guys have coached and lived and worked in basketball for long enough. You know exactly what I'm referring to. It doesn't seem like he has any of that. It doesn't seem like he's got a level of entitlement. He just, I don't know. It feels like he gets it, right? It feels like he's a player where you can buy into the idea that he's going to be able to live up to his potential without running into a Zion or a Ja Morant kind of a situation that kind of makes you say, I don't know about this.
I think that's the advantage he has of playing in Europe. He's playing with pros. He's playing
with pros constantly.
Like it's constant. Every game playing against pros. He's faced bigger, stronger guys. He's played against some really good competition. Right. And that French league is underrated as far as the athleticism.
It's really good. That's the thing that people frown on European basketball. Like that French league, that Monaco team they played, they had 7 former NBA guys on there.
It would be, if it wasn't for their taxes, talent-wise, it would probably be arguably maybe the best league in Europe. Yeah, if they could keep all their players home.
I remember when, even like Luka, everybody's questioning Luka, like he's in the Euro League. I remember asking Giannis, I said, Giannis, hey, what you think about the Luka kid? He's like, he should be number 1 pick. The Euro League is legit, and he's the MVP of the Euro League. He's like, he will be fine. Like, he's going to be really good. And so we may be looking at something very similar. He's played against professionals. He's not played against college kids. And like you said, the French league is really good. That Monaco team almost won the Euro League title this year. So
and the reason why it's different than the other leagues is because they got the athletes there. Mm-hmm. Like, he's not going to, you get to the French league. Some of these leagues don't have the athleticism. The French league, every team is stacked with athletes.
Is that his sister or his girlfriend? Just ask his girlfriend.
Yeah. All right. So the pick is in. According to Shams Charania, he said, sources, after seriously debating Scoot Henderson and Brandon Miller, Charlotte is selecting Miller at number 2, which is a killer for my Bet Rivers bankroll. But you got Brandon Miller or number 2, Henson. It was your guy. He's gone off the board.
Yeah, I think that's the right way to go. Historically, I think RC brought up a good point. What guard has led his team to this. More forwards in the mold of Brandon Miller have led their teams to winning than guards like Scoot, which isn't an indictment on Scoot. But now it gets interesting because what's Portland going to do with Dame? They're going to trade. Are they going to bring him in? So now the draft has started.
Yeah.
No question. I mean, I thought that should have been a pick, and I'm sure it was close because of the excitement of what Scoot could bring. But I thought Brandon Miller, if I was Charlotte, I thought that would have been the safe best pick.
He's the best positional fit. I think that's another thing. Look, there's no loser here. I just feel like because of what Scoot brings from a body size perspective, his ability to get to the rim from day one, I think he just has another gear compared to what I think Brandon Miller is going to have to be a second option.
So let's talk about what he can be as a player, Brandon Miller, because we saw him at Alabama. He is an elite shot maker. He is a guy that has that positional size, 6'9", and I think there's a level of toughness there. I think there's a level of physicality there. My biggest question with him is, will he be anything more than a catch and shoot guy in the league? I don't know if he's got enough, shit to him off the bounce. I don't know if he has kind of the Paul George kind of isolation scorer, isolation playmaker in his range of outcomes. But when you're 6'8" and a guy that can shoot it the way that he could shoot it, you got to bet on that, right, RC?
I think he handles it better than you give him credit for, in a sense. I mean, I don't think there's many Paul Georges out there at 6'8", 6'9" anyway. I mean, PG can be your point. That's why he's so highly regarded. But I think he's good enough to create, good enough to come off ball screens and make plays. So you have to take that. And again, you can't put so many resources in your point guard spot. You drafted Melo in the first round, and LaMelo, when you got to make that work. You're selling the team and you're taking over a team. Give me Brandon Miller. I got size in my backcourt. I got versatility in my backcourt. And then let's try to figure out what my other frontline guys are doing.
He definitely can handle that thing. I mean, we saw him, he's got the crosses over. He's got the hezzies. He can finish with the left, right. I think he's a lot more competent off the dribble than people know. And then, him going to certain organizations, you worry sometimes like Charlotte, do they have a track record of developing guys, right? Like, what's their player development there? And I think my guy Marvin Williams is there, but, what are they going to, now it's time to develop him and mold him into what you guys want and support him being a number 2 pick. But the organization has to support that pick and try to build with, around, and support him. So hopefully they do that as well. Charlotte's a little shaky organizational-wise. It's a lot of transition, a lot of turnover. So hopefully they do the right thing by him, man.
I think the best thing they're going to do is get somebody else running the thing.
That's true.
All right,
that's the biggest thing. Like, the best thing they're going to do is get somebody else running it. And I'm happy. Look, I'm happy for Brandon Miller. I can't remember if I said this or not, Dauster, but I said he would be the first SEC player drafted in this year's draft preseason last year. Just a humble brag. That did happen. And you picked Nick Smith. I don't know where he's at. Thank you. I'll take it. But look, he's really talented. It's a matter of how he's going to be able to do with the ball in his hands. Can he be that primary option? And I think the Hornets are banking on him being able to be that guy at certain points of the game. If you're picking him number 2, like, he's got to be able to create something on his own at the end of the shot clock in the playoffs when the game slows down to a crawl. Like, that's where you wonder, can, Miller be able to do that? I think eventually he could. And I think the fact that he's going to be able to play off his jump shot to start with is going to help those things. But he's not this dynamic, slow to fast guy that Paul George is. I would say he's a better shooter, though. So maybe he'll be able to get guys to close out a little tighter, and then he can attack that way. But if you're the number 2 pick in the draft, you're being banked on to create something at the end of the clock during the playoff time.
Yeah. Well, not when they got a guy already there that does that. They're going to put the ball in LaMelo's hand. And he just has to do – his strength is catching and shooting. Now, they may – it to him in certain areas and certain, switches and mid posts and using the size and length, but they don't have to give him the ball day one and say, go make a play for him.
So let me ask you guys this. He said yesterday that Paul George is his GOAT. It's not Michael Jordan. It's not LeBron. He said Paul George is his GOAT. And that moved him like 6 spots down my top 100 draft board. Like, he clearly doesn't know ball. Are you worried about that at all? Does that concern you?
One thing that I was talking to my guy. He's
A ton of guys love him. Players, college players, kids, they love Paul George.
It's you know, a lot of kids, the best kids that they found watch the game of basketball. So that does worry me a little bit. I mean, maybe he was talking in jest and trying to be funny, like, hey, that's who he wants to be. You know, because when you are getting drafted, agents do tell you to say, agents do tell you to say certain things and try to, you know, this is what you want to be, then say that. And so I don't know if I believe he really believes that, but you know, that kind of does scare me. Like, does he watch games at home when he's chilling by himself? I think that's the biggest thing that kids don't do nowadays that people used to, you know, I did, at least in my kind of generation before. And I'm sure RC, you know, you watch hoop all the time. Kids don't do it no more, man. They playing Fortnite.
What do we think about this plaid suit? That's important.
Well, look, since we're on to plaid suits, and we have old man John Henson on here ranting about kids playing Fortnite these days. Scoot Henderson, officially, the pick is in, according to Shams. Number 3 pick. Portland is taking. To me, that was the obvious choice, right? Now the big question is, what does Portland do now that they have Scoot Henderson? Because they have Damian Lillard, they have Anthony Simons, and I don't think Damian's
one of them will not be on the roster by the end of the day. Okay,
so who would you
one
trade?
of the 3?
Would you
one
trade?
Of those 2? They're not. I can't imagine why you keep Dame and keep him. And like I said, if you're a front office guy, this is why I think the draft decided. I don't think it was as much of a surprise for me the first 2 picks. If I'm Portland, for my organization, if I'm running it, I'm taking Scoot 3rd and I'm trading Dame.
You almost owe Dame that much too.
Yeah.
I would. I mean, and you said I would be honored. You're great that he loves being there, but I would come to him now and just say, hey man, let me trade you to a Miami. And you know, guys, I've said it Miami for a while, but wherever. Like I would trade him somewhere that he wants to go, and then get back my draft. Like keeping him now. With Scoot, like I don't. Scoot needs the ball in his hand day one. You can't do that with Dame.
Sure.
You're not going anywhere.
And Simon kind of fits into that age timeline as well. With, you know, he can pair well with Scoot. They can kind of grow up together. Dame's 32, so it's going to be interesting. I'm sure they're on the phone with Dame and his representation. Like, hey, look, this is our plan. How do you guys feel? And then, you know, they'll go from there.
So that's my biggest thing about taking Dame is you're either rebuilding or you have a chance to win, right? If you're just stuck in the middle, then you're dragging on. So
purgatory.
Obviously they're not the Bradley Beal deal is already done. Like he's on the move. So is there anybody else that you can get that you can pair with him that can make you be something? I don't even want to say that you can win the West, because I don't think anyone's going to win the West for a while with the Nuggets doing what they're doing. But is there anyone in there that can help you at least make a little bit of noise, make a run in the playoffs, so you're not sitting here in 2024 drafting with a top 5 pick?
I don't know. Keep both guys. I just don't. I mean, it sounds good. If you were a popular free agent destination, you know, place, and guys would want to go there, then I can say, hey, and if Dame was a few years older, I mean, Dame's young enough that it's going to be around a couple of years. I just think you got to do it before his game starts to decline a little bit, and he's far from that. I mean, he's the real deal. I mean, I'm a huge Dame fan. I just would say, hey man, let me put you somewhere on the stage right now. Now that they have Scoot, because I think they were unsure of. They didn't know which way it was going to go. So if Brandon Miller was there, we're not having this conversation. But now that they got Scoot, it's like, man, you know, having both of those guys, what are we doing here? Because it's not like Dame is giving you 1 or 2 more years and he's out the door. Right. And you can't wait till he's 35 and try to sit. I mean, as a front office person at that point, then you're either incompetent. But like, what are we doing here?
Also, look at the guys. Look at the guys they have too. RC, like Anthony Simons. They got Shaden Sharp last year. They're going to have Scoot. They got Scoot Henderson now. Like, those are a lot of young guys that need time on the floor in order to become what you think they potentially could be. Like, you got to have those guys on the floor. And you know, the thing is, there's a lot of mistakes that come with young players. But the thing is you're not getting what you want for Dame and out of Dame because he's also playing with this youth. And it would be a disservice to him. So, like, Portland needs to make a decision because as good as it's been for Dame Lillard's brand, for him to be that guy and to be that loyal person and everything, they need to do right by him. That's the thing that would concern me. And quite frankly, Dame will never ask out. They need to move him.
Yeah, they need to go to him.
All right, so the fourth pick is in. The fourth pick is in, guys. I think the way that we can summarize the night for the Trailblazers is having Scoot Henderson fall to you at third puts you in a position where you can make a decision now, and you're going to be able to either draft it, move Dame, move Scoot. You get to make a decision at this point. Pick 4 is in. Amen Thompson, Houston Rockets. There was a little bit of noise that it could end up being Cam Whitmore. But I think Amen Thompson ends up being the guy that gets drafted there. T.O., I'm going to go to you first on this one. 6'7", I think he's going to step into the NBA and be like a top 1% caliber athlete from day one. What do you make of him? What do you make of his fit in Houston?
I saw a Scottie Pippen comparison earlier today, and I'm not mad at it. Just because Scottie had this weird set shot going on and he did everything else. He passed the ball. He defended at a high level. There's a couple of clips of what Amen Thompson's doing that they're laughable. Like his ability to get up, try to take a charge, get up, block a shot, hit the outlet, and then finish the break. I mean, some of these things, I understand it's OTE, but OTE is better than high school situation. It's not as good as the college game, but it is better than, prep high schools. But athleticism is off the charts. 1% athlete, as you said. He's a guy that I think defensively is going to be able to bring it for you immediately. And on a team in Houston that has scores in place, Jabari Smith, they drafted him, third last year.
Jalen Green.
Yeah, excuse me. Yeah. They have guys. They need culture-setting dudes that are going to do the other things, and he fits that mold to a T.
Yeah,
RC.
Yes.
Go ahead, John. Go ahead, John.
I think it needs to be a culture change down there in that organization right now. Until you draft some veterans, you better be bringing in the right veterans. They got young, talented players, but there was a stench coming out of Houston from an immature standpoint. That's not a good sign. So I like Uma Udoka is the coach. He's a no nonsense guy, but there's got to be a culture change.
A little nonsense.
Well.
You get a little nonsense.
Hey, allegedly a little nonsense.
Allegedly. Something might not. That's cold.
Yeah,
allegedly,
man. I knew all it took was 4 picks for us to get completely off the rails.
I
didn't say do that. I just say it a little nonsense.
So what? I want to ask you guys this about Amen and Asar Thompson. How hard is it to evaluate? I think that this is the closest that we've gotten to basically a high school player coming into the NBA draft since high school players are allowed to come into the NBA draft, right? So how do you evaluate that? I mean, you can watch the film, you can see the tape. One of the things that I'm concerned about is the Thompson twins, and Amen in particular, thrive. Like what he does, his athleticism, the fact that he's on the ball, the way he can pass, he could thrive in like a transition setting. And when you are that much better than anybody at a level like that, RC, everything's going to be in transition. So are you worried about him at all playing in an NBA style that's not going to be just him up and down, up and down, up and down?
Well, you worry about him because, again, playing in that league, he's not playing against the caliber of competition that he'd play even at a high major level or in Europe. So there's going to be an adjustment for him. So you worry about it from that. But the physical tools are there. The size is there. You like that. He's going to a team again. I don't think as we start getting in this draft, first round, I don't know if they handing guys the ball right away. There's so many other guys there. This team needs to just get some veteran leadership in and somebody that can help ease these guys in. I like the pick. I like his game.
I'd be shocked if Thompson touched the ball at all down there.
That's what I mean. Like there's got to be a lot of structure.
Like they're not. Jalen Green's not passing the ball. Jabari's not passing the ball. You think Kevin Porter's passing the ball? Not on purpose. Like they needed guys to do the other things.
Yeah, no, him not playing at such a high level competition, he does happen to be probably one of the more physically ready guys in this draft.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
So you can plug him in day one, and he's going to hold his own regardless. Now, it's going to take some time, and Houston's starting to get that treasure trove of picks where they got to start making some noise and improvements. and they definitely just start by having some vets. I think Eric Gordon is good. I don't think he wants to be or anything to do with Houston, but guys like that can kind of.
What about Harden? You remember Harden?
No,
yeah, they need a role model. They need a role model down there.
That's
so go get James Harden.
I was just at his restaurant, man. He's not the guy.
Yeah, RC. Like we're talking about a culture change. You're going to bring.
No,
James
that's
Harden
my point.
James Harden is grown up Jalen Green right now, right? Come on, man. What are we doing?
And he's also Jabari Smith.
I think they need to go out and sign Ish Smith.
Right.
So, let me ask you guys this, RC and John. What is, you say you got to bring vets in, right? You got to get a culture change. Like why does that work? Why does the presence of someone like Udonis Haslem in a locker room change things, John?
So for me, I got a perfect example. When I was coming in the league, we had Skiles. We made the playoffs my first year, but I had Mike Dunleavy on my team. Guys like Ersan Ilyasova, Joe Prisbilla, and then even the next year we were really bad when we brought in Zaza Pachulia. They gave him a pretty big deal, but Zaza was the person that I tell him all the time, he changed my career because you know what I saw? I saw how he worked every day. 33, 34 years old. Stand after. I saw he showed up. I saw Mike Dunleavy was in the training room when he was injured. I just saw these things as a young player, so it kind of let me know what I need to do to be better. And so I thank God in the stars above that I had that because it did help me go into my next deal and become a professional and a better player. So that was when I was younger. So it is important. I mean, more important than people give it credit for.
It's the most underrated thing, Rob, out there. Yep. The most underrated thing, because when you get drafted, you still got to deal with all the BS. You feel like you arrived. They're going to drag these guys from now until the game starts. They're going to drag these guys all around. You're going to be promoting stuff. You're going to be doing everything, taking care of your friends, hanging out, celebrating your draft status. And when it slows down, you need a vet guy to show you how to work. Because the way you worked when you was in college isn't the way you're gonna need to work anymore. They've never worked as hard. And these guys didn't even go to college. You never work as hard until you get there and realize that. And he needs a veteran guy. I think that's the problem that happened with Memphis. You draft to get a bunch of young guys and expecting them to grow and take a step. You don't have veteran presence and leadership in the locker room, and you hand it over to a bunch of naturally gifted young guys. And you get what happened in Memphis. You get an implosion. You get a locker room implosion.
I think they need to. I think you guys said Ish Smith. I like that, but I think Ish is a little too nice. What they need is PJ Tucker, who'll smack somebody in the mouth when they get out of line. They need somebody that's a little tougher. I'm going to be honest.
You also have a vet that is playing because I was talking to Danny Green. He was at the Cavs. He's like, yeah, they looking at me and they listen to me, but I'm not playing, so I only get so much in their ear. So you need to have a vet that's playing, contributing, so they can also understand, respect it. So it's tough. And then I don't think any vet's going to want to go down to Houston. What do they got? 3 top 5 picks, kids, like 4 or 5 guys under 24 years old. But an older presence guard, Ish Smith is perfect.
But that's why, that's why I said Ish.
Jeff Green,
going to get out of the way.
Guy.
Yes.
Yeah. So
he gets out the way. He lets you. He knows his role. Play these young guys. You kind of put him next to these guards. Like they need that. They need a veteran guard down there to show these guys how to be pros.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's spin this thing looking forward. We got Detroit on the clock with the 5th pick. They haven't made it yet. They got Cade Cunningham. They got Jaden Ivey. They have basically every 5-star prospect that's come out of college in the last 5 years. Jalen Duren, Marvin Bagley, all of those guys, right? What are you looking for if you are Troy Weaver in this spot? What are you looking for?
I think Cam Whitmore is a good pick here. It just simply because think about those guys they got. Jaden Ivey, rim attack guy. Is he your main cog that's trying to score the ball? He can be sometimes. I think now you need a bucket getter and a high level one. Cam Whitmore kind of fits it. Cade Cunningham's a pass first, kind of do everything guy. You need a bucket and you need another physical body at that 3 spot. I feel like he fits here. Poor Greg Waddell, he suffered enough. Didn't they drop out of the top 3?
Yeah.
I mean, tough sledding for Detroit fans here lately, but I do think one of the better prospects as far as naturally gifted scorers in this draft, Cam Whitmore dropped to this spot. I could see him going here.
Yeah, I like Whitmore and Detroit. I think on a 5-year kind of trajectory, I think they have the highest chance to be really good. They've got the pieces. I think they need to go out and get a vet or a guy to contribute. They may need to pay someone to come in there, maybe overpay to come in there and just help the young guys out because no one's on the books to get paid for 2 or 3 more years. So I love Detroit's roster. I love where they're headed. This is also another big pick. I like Whitmore.
So do you know who they're going with? They're not going with Cam Whitmore. The Thompson twins go back to back. Asar Thompson is the 5th pick.
Wow.
He's more of the wing of the Thompson twins, right? He is the guy that is going to play off the ball a little bit. He's still got a little bit of that passing into him. His jump shot is just as broken as Amen's. RC, how do you see him fitting there? It's just another athlete to put around a couple of playmakers that you have in Jaden Ivey and Cade, right?
Yeah, I mean, everybody, you can't reach. I guess you're looking for his upside. Athletically, he's going to come in and fit again, but they're not. I think we're going to say this theme throughout as we, outside of Grady Dick, and we're going to be looking for guys that can make shots. I mean, there's not a lot of guys here that can make shots, so you're going to get an applicant. I agree with T.O. there. I thought Cam Whitmore would have been probably a better fit for those guys. But again, I think they're in the talent collection business right now. Detroit figuring out new coach, new environment. I'm sure Monty had his imprints over what he wanted there. And again, some of these guys, say what you want. These guys were coached by NBA guys and know what it takes to get them there. So they're probably prepared to come transition in. But Villanova's done a really good job with the way they get their guys going. I'm a Cam Whitmore fan.
And that just goes to our record. The wings, high-level wings are the trend right now. And as you see, they're getting picked off the board pretty quickly.
If you don't have one, you better find somebody to stop one. You better find somebody to guard one of if you don't have one.
Right.
Hey, Rob, you asked, how do you evaluate twins? And if you look in recent history, whether it's the Morris twins or even the Harrison twins that went to Kentucky, it seems like the more ball dominant version of the twins is the one that gets picked usually first. If you look at all of them, it's the more ball dominant one. And that's what happened with Amen. He was more ball dominant. They saw more of him handling the ball and making some plays. That's just kind of, I guess, how the dynamic has rolled. But over recent memory, that's kind of how those things have worked. But how do you pronounce Asar Thompson? He's the better shooter of the two. He's probably a little bit more skilled, and he doesn't have the pop that his brother does. And that's saying a lot because I think he's a 1% athlete in the NBA as well. But his ability to shoot it, he's more of the scorer than the other one. So it'll be interesting to see. Detroit needs that. They need some score first guys. So I'm a little shocked that they went there instead of Cam Whitmore.
How worried are you about drafting a wing where the question marks are his shooting ability, right? Like, this is a league where if you are playing that position, you got to be 3 and D.
But that's the thing that NBA teams feel like they can teach more than anything. And I think it's kind of crazy. Like that's the thing that they think, like, as soon as they get here, we can teach them how to shoot. That's being biased because I'm a shooter. Like I hate that, but it is what it is.
I did, I guess 2 or 3 years ago, I was playing, and literally every day, I was on 3 teams. I was on the Bucks, Cavs, and Pistons in 2 years. That's all we do. Walk in the gym, we're shooting. Shoot around, shooting. Practice shooting. Like it's something that can be taught pretty well if they're committed to getting better. I've seen a lot of guys become better shooters, and I think it's, I'm not a shooter, but confidence-wise, if you're in the gym, man, you have full-time access. If the shot ain't broke, you should be able to be a competent three-point shooter in this day in the NBA. Because literally, for my last 2 years in the league, we were doing shooting drills, and the guards were doing centers, everybody. So
their athleticism translates, though. I mean, I think that's the best way to describe it with these guys. Their athletic, their size and athleticism translates that they won't be overwhelmed that way. They'll need to obviously improve their perimeter shooting, and I think, like I said, we're going to say that about quite a few guys, in this draft. But day one, size and athleticism, they're going to be able to get in the floor, create their shots, and play in an up and down, pace.
It fits Detroit's style of drafting. They got Durant, they got Isaiah Stewart, Cade Cunningham, big, athletic, Jaden. They're kind of putting together this kind of super athletic team, man, and I like where they're headed.
So let me ask you guys this: first 5 picks are in. Victor Wembanyama goes number 1. Brandon Miller goes number 2. Scoot Henderson number 3. Amen Thompson 4, and Asar Thompson goes 5. It is only the second time in college basketball or in NBA history that we have 4 of the top 5 picks are not coming from the college ranks. We'll get to that in a second, T.O. Does this say anything about where college basketball is headed, or is this just one of those years? T.O., we'll go to you first.
I wasn't listening because I got my thing. What was the question?
The first 5 picks come from not the college ranks. Is there anything that we can take out of that?
I think the OTE thing is a bit of it's an anomaly. I don't think this will happen all that much, especially with some of the talent. They have good talent coming in, but they've also been allowed to go back into the McDonald's All-American game. So they're going to get a lot more guys that are college ready as opposed to pro. I think the Thompson twins were a unique case. Guys, I mean, look, the G League Ignite, we thought they would attract more attention. They've been up and down with talent collection. I think the European thing is going to continue because I think skill development and size over there, and this is a small part of why European basketball is going the way it is. Like FIBA World Championships are coming up. I don't think USA is winning it. Like the world has gotten better. And a lot of that has to do with, one, starting at 7, 8 years old, if they're playing on a team for their town or their club, the season's 10 months long. And a lot of this is a lot of skill work going into every practice. That's a huge thing. So going into the draft, I think it's going to continue with a lot of international flavor. Potential against production. The NBA is still a potential league, hoping that some of these guys can turn out to be some of these superstar players. That's why you draft them so high.
Yep. All right. Pick number 6.
I'm ready to agree with you on that FIBA yet, but
yeah, I don't know. That was.
Have you seen USA's team? Have you seen USA's team?
I know what did Jaren Jackson agree to be on. Who else? I can't think of other names.
Cam Johnson's on the team. You remember Cam Johnson?
I do remember Cam Johnson.
All right.
So listen, pick number 6 is in. Anthony Black from Arkansas is going to the Orlando Magic. A bit of a surprise there. I think everybody expected Orlando to target shooting. I think Anthony Black was a guy that was projected as more of a back end of the lottery kind of a pick, but he's going 6th. Maybe the best hair in the draft. Henson, what do you think?
Yeah, I love Anthony Black. I think when I first saw him play this year, didn't really know who he was, and he just popped right off the screen at me. I literally said, "That's a pro. Who is that?" I looked it up. He was ranked high, obviously, in the mock drafts, things like that. So I love that pick. He's one of my favorite players, kind of just his size. He can handle it. He can distribute. I love the kind of flair he plays with. So he'll do well down in Orlando.
Yeah, look at the roster. You got Paolo Banchero last year, the number 1 pick. Who's your pure point guard? Cole Anthony's not that. I think he's a second unit scorer in the NBA.
Sure.
He's a good player, but I think he's best served as a second unit scorer. Look at the rest of the pieces there. I feel like he's the best fit. He gives you size at the point guard position. He has potential to be one of the top 3 defensive players individually in this draft class. I think that's huge. 6'7", 210 pounds? Like, he's a big dude. And he's still 19 years old with a lot to learn. You saw his game take a step when Nick Smith got hurt. He was allowed to get downhill more and not defer as much. I love this pick. I think he's a tough kid, and he passes the ball extremely well. One more thing, Eric Musselman, who's there with him, like he put him in a lot of NBA sets, a lot of pick and roll actions to where he's going to be comfortable in a lot of the same actions that he used at Arkansas. That's huge.
I don't think that he is a point guard. I don't think he's a point guard in the league. RC. I think he's a guy that is going to be someone that plays off the ball, someone that's going to be the second side creator, right? I think he needs to add the jump shot, but to me, he's the complementary piece. Is that Isaiah Austin there with him?
Yeah. He works for the league now.
Yeah, he works for the league.
Right. Yeah, like I don't think Anthony Black is. I don't think he's a point guard. I think he can fit alongside a point guard. I think you could slot him in next to one of these guys if you're buying into Jalen Suggs or Cole Anthony or whoever you want at that point guard spot. I think you put him next to Franz Wagner, you put him next to Paolo Banchero. That's your 2, 3, 4 of the future right there. Does that make sense?
I think early on, because of the scoring guards that they have, I think you still need somebody from perimeter scoring. You're not going to space him out and play off the ball with so much. I mean, because I think he's elite at pick and roll reads. So putting him in a ball screen with Paulo Banchero, forcing switches and his size moving the ball. Now that their point guard with Suggs and and those guys who's probably more scored than pass first guys, gives him that option of it. He's just going to play. I mean, the ball's going to move. It's going to pop. He doesn't have to be a traditional point guard that we're thinking about. But I think he fits that mold of size getting downhill.
I think he is a point guard. He is a point guard.
You could throw him at the two. I mean, he positionally he can play the three in some cases. I mean, like a guy like Dylan Brooks was 6'6" playing the small forward this year. So I think that also helps him be able to measure different lineups as well.
They got his brother on the screen right now on ESPN. He's got the same hair, the same flow, and the same blonde patch in it. There's two of them, man. That's awesome. The thing I love about Anthony Black is he was a guy that was like a football prospect. He was a wide receiver that was getting like high major Big 12 offers before he realized, hey, you know what? I'm 6'8". Guys are going to come at my knees if I'm a wide receiver. So I really like that pick here. Pick number 7 is in. You guys are going to be shocked by this one. You ready for it? Buckle up, RC. Bilal
I like it.
Koulibaly. Bilal Koulibaly.
Kid.
Victor Wembanyama's teammate for Metropolitans 92 in the French League. He is 18 years old. He's one of these big, super athletic wings that can't really shoot it. That's a bit of a surprise. He's a guy that was expected to be like a late first round, early second round pick as recently as a month ago. But Metropolitans 92 made a run in the French League, whatever. I don't even know what the cup was, but they were playing in their playoffs as recently as like last week. And he was starting to look better. He was starting to figure things out. Henson, the Pacers, everyone thought that they were going to take a power forward, right? Like that's kind of what they wanted. Do you like this fit? Like that's not really what Bilal Koulibaly is.
Yeah,
he's being
traded.
Okay.
Okay.
So
hold on, Dagan, tap in. What happened? What's the trade?
I don't know the exact package, but he's being traded to the Wizards, according to Shams. So
okay, Indiana is.
He fits that. I mean, what we're seeing now is teams are going for those versatile perimeter guys to play the 2, 3, 4, 1 through 3. So he fits into the mold of what the NBA is becoming, and it seems like teams are grabbing these type of guys off the shelf. Which, back when I was coming up, you were called a tweener and no one liked you. Now you're coveted. So it's interesting to see the change in philosophy.
That's a good point. That's a good point. It used to be tweener, now it's value pick.
Now they're like, we love this guy.
Bilal Koulibaly's good, man. Like that he measured 6'8" with shoes on at a French pro day, and then he had a 7'2" wingspan. He's right now, as of today, the best on-ball defender in the draft.
Wow.
I mean, can cover so many different positions, incredibly long, a silky, smooth athlete. Maybe not this super bouncy guy like the Thompson twins per se, but I think, 6'8", 7'2" wingspan, long, athletic, extremely smooth. He's not going to be one of these guys that puts on a ton of weight because he doesn't have super broad shoulders. He's more of Mikal Bridges, that body type, narrow shoulders, long, lanky kind of guy. But best on-ball defender in the draft, not named Wembanyama.
So let me ask you guys this. Let's recap what the hell is going on with the Wizards, right? They trade Bradley Beal to the Suns for a shitload of picks, Chris Paul, Landry Shamet. They end up trading Chris Paul to the Warriors for Jordan Poole, a couple of first-round picks, Ryan Rollins, right? And now it looks like they are trading somebody to the Pacers for Bilal Koulibaly. Are you a fan of what is happening with the Wizards right now, RC? You're a DC guy. That's your hometown team.
They should have been blew it up. Hell yeah, I'm for it. Like, blow it up. It's time to start. Like, let's start this thing over. I never understood why they hadn't been a free agent destination place. So hopefully they can start changing the culture there. Again, they're another team. When you're blowing up, now you got to add some veterans guys. They're starting to accumulate. They're hitting the reset button. And it was the right thing to do. Chris just recently got traded, so let's see what they do beyond it. But I like the wing. I like I like what the Wizards are doing.
RC, for one, I love the Chocolate City. I would love to go there. I don't know if people know about it like I do, but I love DC. Secondly, I mean, they have OKC guy running it, and they're doing all the guys that leave OKC are in that mold, and that's what they're doing. They're getting picks, they're trading, they're making moves, they're trying to build up assets. And I love what they're doing now, man. They got off their best players. They got some picks back. I don't know what they're going to do with Kuzma. I'm assuming they're going to let him walk. Maybe not. We'll see. But I like what the Wizards are doing. Finally getting into what they need to do to be good, man. Because
I could have never imagined Bradley Beal and Kristaps Porzingis don't work well as a 1 and your 2. Like you want your first and second options. Like, how does that not help?
So we have an answer on what the hell is going on with this pick. They traded 2 second-round picks to move up from 8th to 7th to get Bilal Coulibaly, and Indiana is drafting Jarris Walker with the 8th pick. So they are getting their power forward. Now that we have Indiana's kind of that figured out, Henson, I'm going to go back to you. They're plugging in a power forward on a team that seemed like they really needed a guy to play that role.
Yeah, Indiana needs a power forward. They need a guy down there that's physical. They got Miles Turner, which I think is a good fit as well for them. I love Walker. Tournament, he stepped up. He's physical. He can shoot a little bit. He fits again. I don't know how many times I'm going to say this. That mold, versatile, can play multiple positions, can guard multiple positions. That's just kind of where the league's going. And as you can see, teams are taking whatever they can get to get those type of guys, and it'll be interesting to see how he does. But I like that. I like that for Indiana.
I think he and Derek Lively are the 2 best versatile defenders in this league, in this draft.
Not a Coulibaly guy, RC?
No. I think he's good. I think Coulibaly's good. I just think from guarding multiple positions, I think those 2 guys are better suited than he is. I think he's better at guards on ball, like you said, but being able to the ability to switch multiple 1 through 4 positions, I like those 2 guys.
Are you buying the jump shot, T.O., with Jarris Walker?
I don't think that's not what he's going to Indiana. He's going to Indiana because they need everybody. They need some defense. Like they were atrocious defensively towards the bottom of the league. Like they needed somebody. They needed a versatile, tough guy who could guard multiple guys and put a body on you. Jarris Walker has that build. Now, am I buying his jump shot? I'm sure it'll be fine in the mid-30s at his best year, but that's not why he's there. He's going to.
That's all you really need, right? Like if he's mid-30s and you have to chase him off the line, and you're not drafting him to run him off the screens, you're drafting him to be a guy that is a good enough shooter that makes someone guard him, right?
Okay, so am I buying him to be a mid-30s guy?
Yeah,
a couple seasons, I'm sure. I wouldn't be upset at that.
He'll be good. If you can make him a career average mid-30s guy, I think you hit a home run with that pick.
Can I be honest? Like, unless I see, like a guy can shoot great percentages or whatever, unless I see his hands when he shoots it in person, it's really hard for me to really buy or sell a guy's jump shot. Like, because if you look, like I played with a guy named Jeray Grant, as Harvey Grant's son, Horace's nephew. You remember this guy? Great guy, crazy as all shit. Great guy. However, he had a good-looking jump shot, but he had hands of steel to where, like, it never came off his fingertips nice. Everything just kind of floated off his hands. So he didn't have a feel to where you could really buy his shot till later, right?
That's how Thon Maker was, actually. I'm with you on that. Thon Maker, I mean, he worked hard. He had really good work ethic, but his touch was just really bad. So he was never going to be a really good – he just didn't have the right feel.
Because he had massive hands, man. It was like
he was numb on his face. Like this knuckle up, he was numb. Like it didn't work.
I just didn't have the touch. So he would never be able to his feel wasn't great. So he would never be a great shooter no matter how much he worked on it. And that's kind of how I felt about So I kind of understand.
Hey, have you guys seen that clip of Vernon Maxwell when he said he was going to stab Hakeem? And he said he had the hardest hands in the world after he smacked him. He said he could cut steak with his hands. Have you heard that?
Yeah.
That's what Vernon said. Like some guys have really hard hands like that. And like, unless you see that person shot in person, it's hard for me to like, do I buy it? Maybe, but that's not why he's there. Even if he's only a low 30s shooter, like he's somebody that's still going to be able to serve a purpose and play a long time just because of his body size and athleticism.
Yep.
He looks like he could play defensive end, dude.
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna say. Like he's listed at what 230 pounds. He looks like he's about 260 pounds. And there you see Kelvin Sampson there. What do you make of this Houston program, Teal? We're gonna flip this back to college basketball for a second. They've had as many wins and as much success as anybody in recent years. Now they're starting to churn out NBA players. Jarris Walker's obviously here, first round pick. I think Marcus Sasser is probably going to end up hearing his name in the first round. When do we start giving Houston the credit they deserve?
When they win the Big 12 next year.
There you go.
Bingo.
They need to be, if they finish in the top 4 in the Big 12, if they can do that, then I think people will give them a tremendous amount of respect.
Who's not giving them respect, though, Dauster? My question is
No.
Who's not giving them? They made the Final Four.
I think everyone is because of Sampson. Coach Sampson, I don't think there's any question about it with him, and they have talent. But I think we all question their competition is what I think would be the best way to say it.
Yeah, my point was more to that it's the same way that people don't give Gonzaga the respect. Like
I thought you were going to say UConn. I thought you were going to say UConn.
I almost did. All right, pick number 9 is in. Taylor Hendricks from UCF is going to the Utah Jazz. I really like that fit with him next to Lauri Markkanen and Walker Kessler. There's plenty of guards available for them to scoop something up later in the first round.
He's good.
Yeah. What do you? How much have you seen him?
I had a game when UCF played at Cincinnati. I was on that call. And like, you want to talk about 6'10", versatile, can put it on the deck a little bit. High floor prospect. High floor, and he continues to get better. Long wingspan, was a good rim protector. I actually think he might be able to play some 3 for you. So if Utah decides to go huge on a given night with Markkanen, Kessler, and Hendricks at the 3, like it's feasible. It probably can't work for long stretches, but I do think that it's feasible for periods of time, especially if Utah is able to get back in the playoff picture and the game slows down some. That could be a pretty enticing option.
Yeah, Henson, I was about to ask you guys that. So we're looking at a team now that has Walker Kessler, that has Lauri Markkanen, that got rid of Rudy Gobert in part because you could scheme him off of the floor in the playoffs.
In part because
now,
he's
a knucklehead. Go ahead. Say what you got to say, T.O.
I'm just not a fan. I think I'm just not a fan. I think he's soft.
He's making too much money for his impact on women to be so minimal in high level spots and spots where you need him to be on the court.
Yep. So what do you make of this addition, right? In a year where, in a league where everyone's trying to get smaller and more versatile, it looks like the Jazz are kind of leaning into it another direction, adding a guy that is probably long-term best as a 4 to a team where you already have your 4 and your 5. It looks like locked up.
Yeah, I mean, right now you're in a talent gathering phase, right? You pick the best guy on your board, no matter what the position is. So I like that pick for them. Utah is a great organization. As we all know. So I don't really question what they have going and what they're trying to do. And I mean, they were super competitive this year. I honestly think that they wanted to lose a little more than they did. But I think it's a good pick. They got something boiling down there too as well with that coach, man. I love what they're doing.
Will's good, man.
Yeah, he is.
He's good. Side note, Salt Lake City, one of the best airports I've ever flown into. That place is amazing.
What makes a good airport for you, TL?
Dude, right? The mountains when you come in that airport are freaking ridiculous. That city is awesome to look at. I haven't been outside the airport, but it looks like it would be pretty fun.
I've been outside the hotel myself, so I don't know.
There you go. It's aesthetically pleasing when going down on the runway.
That's not one of the cities where you make it out at night when you're on the road in the NBA.
Don't go out to drink.
Yeah, don't they stopped serving liquor like 10 o'clock? I mean, you have to have a flask in your suit pocket or something. Man.
Do they really stop serving? They stop serving.
They got some weird alcohol rules there, man.
I've never weird.
I know Booker loved it there. Trevor Booker loves Salt Lake. Of course, he's a family man and all that, but. All
right, so
different strokes for different folks, but no sips for different folks.
All right, so what do you if you're the Jazz now at this point, right? You've added Taylor Hendricks. Who are you targeting? RC, who do they need in the backcourt? Because I think that's the next thing they got to add, right?
Are you in a total rebuild with the a draft standpoint? Are you looking for a shooter? I think that's the key is going to be, and we talked about this before. I'm curious to see now, where does Hawkins and Grady Dick go? I think those are the 2 best shooters left. So if you're looking for shooting, I think it's a significant drop-off of who I trust to come in day one and knock and space the floor with some size. Outside of Hawkins and Grady Dick, I think is a drop-off. So if you want shot making, I think you go after one of those two guys.
T.O.?
Who'd we say was
Yo.
next? Sorry, I'm sitting here. I'm looking. I'm wondering why Cam Whitmore is still on the board. That he must have said something in an interview or two.
Yeah, that was going to actually be my next question. But do you have any take on what the Utah should do in their backcourt?
Didn't they just get rid of Conley? Like I don't even know who's starting there
Conley,
right now. They've been so out of it.
They got Clarkson. They got Clarkson who has
Clarkson's a second unit guy. If you try to make him a starter, I don't love it. Like I don't know. Like you have these talented.
Sexton.
Okay.
Hey T.O., I said go after one of the shooters. I think after Hawkins.
I think Grady Dick would make sense.
Grady Dick and Hawkins. I think there's a significant drop.
I think Jordan Hawkins makes sense. Grady Dick makes sense. Yeah.
I think Grady Dick does make sense. A lot of sense.
Yeah.
I think all of these guys that you're mentioning make sense for the team that is on the clock right now in Dallas. And Henson, we're going to let you get out of here in a second. You got draft parties that you got to get up. You got to hit up there in New York. But when you have Luka Doncic, and let's just assume that eventually they're going to end up getting Kyrie Irving figured out. But if he's still there, you basically need guys that can shoot and defend around them, right? Like who?
Yeah. Dallas needs defense. They need rebounding. They need stuff on the other side of the ball. They've got the offense, in my opinion, they've got offense down. They've got two of the most dynamic isolation players in the league. So I think whatever you can to get a defensive-minded player, maybe, if that exists, or you take the best player available, whichever they think. Like Cam Whitmore is the best player available. Also, Jalen Hardy.
Derek Lively.
Yeah, exactly. Screams Derek Lively. So, because I know the Mavs are trying to get Clint Capella, but there's an impasse with the picks.
I don't think Lively keeps Luka and those guys there. I think they got to get another guy, perimeter guy, to make some shots. I don't know if he moves the needle enough to keep that group there. If you drop the guy like that, I think Luka may look at you like, man, all right, I'm giving you one more year of this and I'm out.
Well, Luka's going to be. Luka's getting the call, so he's going to have some input on this decision. So whoever they do pick, I'm sure Luka is going to be okay with. And if he's against somebody, I think Dallas would probably go away from him.
Henson, I'm a fan of just what happened.
Yeah, Henson, you nailed it. Maybe you didn't nail it. They picked one of the best defenders in the draft in Cason Wallace, but the pick is getting moved to Oklahoma City, according to Shams. We are going to head to a quick break here. Henson's going to head out. And on the other side of it, we are going to have a long discussion over what the hell is going on with this number 10 pick. Okay. Henson, you get out of here, man.
hey, good seeing you guys, man. Hey, y'all take it easy. RC, enjoy Vegas.
All right, man.
You guys
good to see you, brother.
Yeah.
All right, man.
Later, John.
See you, John.
So, there you go, Tegan. All right, so we have Cason Wallace going to Oklahoma City.
I like that. I like that fit. We're not.
We're good now. I was trying to make it be a clean out for Henson, make it look good for you. But hey, we're here now. We're rolling. We're rolling, Dagan.
Hey, I like Cason Wallace to Oklahoma City beside Josh Giddey. Like you have a defensive minded guard beside him. You also have some front court depth there. Like that. Like he's a solid either off the bench guy to bring some toughness whenever Giddey comes out. Like you kind of have a little yin yang at the lead guard spot there to go along with. Like Chet Holmgren's going to be back. There's a lot of nice young pieces there in Oklahoma City. I'm not mad at it. I actually like that.
What position are you playing him at?
Huh?
What position are you playing?
It depends on if he's in there with Giddey or not.
I think
Giddey needs the ball in his hands.
Yeah, I think it makes sense because you have a couple guys in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Josh Giddey that are a little bit bigger, right? Both of those guys are like 6'6", creeping up on 6'7". I think Shai's got the 7'1" wingspan, right? So you can play Cason Wallace there and have him be a little bit more of an off the ball guy because he could. I'm believing in the jump shot for him. I think you can have him be a little bit more off the ball guy and just have him go out there and defend the way that Marcus Smart just goes out there and defends for, well, I guess the Grizzlies now, but it used to be the Celtics, right? I think it makes a lot of sense for Cason. I think that's a place that he's going to be able to succeed.
Yeah, no,
Well, he
what
won't get the
does is
ball, so he
valuable.
has to. He's gonna have to defend because he ain't getting the rock.
Yeah, that's right.
How good do you think he can be? Because I think that there is the range of outcomes I would say for him is somewhere. It's a relatively high floor, right? Like I think you're looking at kind of like a maybe Pat Bev level guy as kind of the floor.
He's
think
a lot bigger than Pat Bev.
I think
Pat Bev is not very big.
same kind of impact. You know what I'm saying though? Just like a guy that's going to go out there and defend and muck stuff up, and maybe you're not going to be as vocal as Pat Beverly. I don't think Casey Wallace said 5 words this entire season, but that same level of defender. No point of attack, get up under you.
I think he's a show up, and I think he's a show up and shut up guy, man. I really like Casey Wallace, and to be honest with you, I was a little, I wasn't as high on him as certain people, just because I feel like he turns this corner to where in the draft. I mean, he turns the corner in the draft to where you go now to fit and to guys that could potentially play roles. I'm not sold on him being an all-star. I'm sold on him being a very good player and a quieter, more workmanlike, easier to get along with version of Marcus Smart.
Yeah. So let's talk about the guys
I think he could be. Same body type, strong, tough guy mentality, lunch pail type dude. And I think it works really, really well besides Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Josh Giddey, who's ball dominant, Chet Holmgren, who's going to play his first season this year. Oklahoma, they got some things cooking now. Like they're not going to be bad.
Yeah, I agree.
He's going into a good situation with some veterans, some offensive weapons around him. He doesn't have pressure on him. He can come in and do what he does and guard and give them some strength off the bench.
Yeah. So I think the most interesting storyline right now that's left in the draft is that a guy who, in our mock draft, we had going number 4, a guy who some people had slotted as the 3rd best prospect in this draft, Cam Whitmore, is out of the top 10 officially. The smoke of him dropping in this draft has ended up being a real thing. Why do you think this has happened? Is this there was obviously some rumblings of like some of the medical stuff. I think it was Jonathan Wasserman put something out about that. Are you concerned about this? We've seen this happen with guys before, right? RC, are you worried about this long term with Whitmore? How does this impact him? Does it change how you view him as a prospect?
No, he'll for him, it's just about, like so many of these guys, he's going to go now as we get further down this draft. We're going to start having some playoff teams that are drafting. The good thing about Cam is, from a competitive standpoint, a defensive mindset, he's going to be ready to help a team with his size. So he may slip in a draft some, but then he could potentially go to a better fit to a team that we can see, and he can slide in and have a role on a much better team, where some of these guys, these younger guys, are going to teams where they can get overwhelmed because there's just so much of the burden and responsibility that they have to carry. And if he continues to slip a few more picks, I think he can end up on somebody's roster and in a really good situation.
I'm still all the way in on Whitmore.
No, I agree. I'm definitely high on him.
Here's what I'll say about him. He is 18 months younger than the Thompson twins, right? He has not turned 19 yet. He turns 19 in, I believe, mid-July, right? He already has the physical tools. He already has the body. We know what he is as a scorer. I understand that there are concerns about him on the offensive end, and especially on the defensive end with some of the decision-making and kind of figuring out what he is as a player there. I think so much of what the question marks are is stuff that can get fixed with coaching, that can get fixed with kind of being taught where to be, how to play, the angles that you need to take to be able to close out.
Kind of a selfish mentality. And in an NBA game now where it relies on ball movement, like, he's a ball stopper. Cam Whitmore's a ball stopper. He's a talented ball stopper, but he's a ball stopper. He had one of the lowest assist rates in the history of with the draft in the last 15, 20 years. That's a Vecini quote right there. Like, he didn't pass the ball. Like the thing is everything thrives on ball movement now. He doesn't pass the ball.
But I agree with you, because that's what happened. But my question would be, or my comeback would be, the situation in dealing with Villanova with those guys and that team and the injuries that they were dealing with to start the year, and he gets injured and he comes out. Is it a freshman trying to do too much on a team that was, as later in the year as they got healthy, they started to play a little better?
Mm-hmm. All right, so we top 10 is over. The official pick is in. They just showed it on ESPN. We
Dude,
had
curveball at 11.
Yeah, no,
Curveball
we're
at
gonna
11.
get to that. We're gonna get to that in 1 second.
Curveball.
We've had a lot of curveballs here at the end of the top.
No,
10.
this is the biggest curveball I've seen in a long time.
Anthony Black goes 6th. The Washington Wizards trade up to go take Bilal Coulibaly at 7. The Indiana Pacers take Jarris Walker with the 8th pick. Taylor Hendricks goes 9 to the Utah Jazz, which is like the only sane thing that we've seen happen in the last 5 picks. Number 10, Cason Wallace, drafted by the Mavericks, going to Oklahoma City. And just in right now at 11, Jet Howard from Michigan, first shooter off the board for Grady Dick, before Jordan Hawkins. He is heading to the Orlando Magic to join Anthony Black down there with Jalen Suggs, with Paolo Banchero, with Franz Wagner, with Wenzel Carter, with Markelle Fultz. I can't even talk. What the hell is going on, T.O.?
This is shocking because I don't think he can guard RC. Not many people can RC. I'm not throwing that out there, but I mean, you were drafted in 92. You know what I'm saying? So like, but what I mean is like, he didn't guard anybody last year. Michigan was worse with him on the floor. You are banking right now on the broad shoulders, the big frame, the size to go along with the shooting, and you're hoping that he turns into a solid defender because this is a team that needs floor spacing. This is shocking to me because I could have seen Jet Howard dropping into the late teens, early 20s, going to 11. This is a huge win for him and quite possibly, guys, probably the best fit possible for him.
I think the pedigree matters with this pick too. You're talking about a young man obviously with a dad.
The nepotism. Don't call it pedigree. Call it nepotism.
Nah. He knows what being a pro is in a sense. He's grown up around it, and obviously his size and shot-making ability. It's just more about fit, and that's what they need. They need to fit. They need a guy with some size that can make some shots.
I guess they didn't buy the red jacket of Grady Dick.
Well,
yeah,
but again,
you know what? Grady Dick was supposed to get drafted here, and then they wore that jacket and they changed their mind.
So the thing that bothers me, maybe bothers is the wrong word, but the thing that I can't get over with the Jet Howard pick is he literally can't do anything other than shoot, right? He's not quick enough to stay in front of smaller defenders defensively. He's not tough enough to guard bigger defenders defensively. He's not someone that you want putting the ball on the floor and taking a shot. He's literally going to be out there to shoot, right? So is that, if you are looking for someone in a specialty role, is that just what the Magic are saying here? Like, this is the guy that we only need someone that can shoot and we can figure the rest out? Is this just, I mean, he's basically Duncan Robinson with Juwan Howard's name.
We can say
Duncan Robinson played the NBA Finals this year.
We can say the same thing about Grady Dick. We can say the same thing about Jordan Hawkins. Both of those guys, as shooters, are going to have challenges defensively. And you're going off Jet with size. So you at lump, do I think he's a better shooter than those guys? I don't. Tomato with those guys. They're the best shooters in this draft. But he has size.
The size is the differentiator.
I think the size is the biggest reason why they're taking him early on. You just can't teach it. You need size, the ability to get your shots off, and I think that's the only reason that makes sense for these guys. I mean, he has the ability just to make shots as a big guard.
For what it's worth, I think he just accidentally kissed his dad Juwan on the lips. Like, I'm not against it, but like it threw me off guard. I think it was an accident.
Come on, man! You don't kiss your kids in the lips.
I do, but my son is 7 and my daughter's 6. Like, got mustache on mustache right there.
The one thing I will say about Jet Howard is I don't know if there was a player that when he got going was as dangerous as Jet Howard was. Like, that dude could reel off 6 or 7 threes in a half and not even break a sweat. So I kind of get it, right? With you know what this feels like? This feels like the Suns taking Cam Johnson at 11 in whatever draft was that, the 2019.
Yeah, it does. It does feel a lot like that. That's a good point. And Cam's a very good player. Like it feels a lot like that. In to go along with what RC said, you're going with size here. Like, Jet Howard's a big dude. This is not like some guy that they're like. Jordan Hawkins, very good player, runaway shooter, can move and shoot all this, that, and the third. But I think Jett Howard, by the time all said and done, he'll have 30 pounds on it. Like that's where this was the difference right here.
Yeah, you know what? You know what I love about this pick too is that I remember watching Jett Howard at Peach Jam in 2021,
Big.
and I'm sitting right next to Terrence Oglesby, and we're sitting there watching him, and he like makes 4 plays in a row. And T.O., I remember this specifically. I don't
remember this, so I hope it's good.
It was really funny when you said it, and you just look at him and go, "He's just such a Michigan State guy, isn't he?" Dude, do you know who his dad is? Do you know where his dad works right now? You're like,
yeah,
he's just such a Michigan State guy. And nope, turns out he's just a guy that is basically Duncan Robinson 2.0.
I think that was Ty Rogers.
No, it was 100% Jett Howard because I remember laughing and being like, what? And that was the first time I'd ever met T.O. in person. I was like, who the fuck is this guy? What is he talking about here? That was funny. All right, pick 12 is in. I think we all are going to love what it ended up being. Mavericks take Derek Lively. Well, technically the Thunder take Derek Lively, but the Mavericks get Derek Lively with the 12th pick. Perfect fit for him, right? Like it just makes so much sense. You need defense, you need rebounding, you need a guy that can in theory be a floor spacer. T.O.
That's the swing skill. That's the swing skill.
Everyone, that's the favorite thing people love to say. That's the new buzzword on the NBA draft is that's his swing skill.
Like, is he going to be a home run, or is he going to be a swinging single? Dude, that sounded terrible. Like, is he going to be a home run, or is he going to, not be able to turn into a long-time pro? I think defensively his floor is high because he has great timing. One consistent throughout the season was his defensive ability. It's when he got more comfortable kind of moving and reacting off of some of those guards at Duke. Derek Lively is a really good player. And to be honest with you, when we saw him at Peach Jam playing for Team Final alongside a lot of those talented guards, he was a guy who could step out and shoot the basketball. Now, I thought he would continue to do that. Before their season, I compared him to a jump shooting DeAndre Jordan. I thought like he had that ability. He never shot the ball at Duke. I think he can. So that's kind of where I think teams were infatuated with that.
Yeah, let's talk about that, RC, because I remember you saying before the season when you watched Derek Lively play, like he was making shots in practice.
Yeah,
and then he comes out like we saw him make shots, Theo, when we were at Peach Jam, and like then he comes out in during the season and he shoots 15.7% from beyond the arc this past year. But you're buying it, right, RC?
I'm buying it because he didn't shoot many. And his attempts were late in games. They were blowouts when he was trying to get himself back in shape because he had missed so much significant time, being the nagging injury, getting himself going there. And there was buy-in there. That team with Duke, there was talent. The ball moved around. It was multiple guys that needed to touch the ball, and having him and Derek Whitehead there trying to, getting injured early and trying to find a way out. I thought he was – I think he's one of those guys. He just knows what he is. He's coming in saying, I'm going to defend. I'm going to rebound day one. I think offensively he'll evolve into a spacing big, but he's going to be a DHO guy. And let's be honest, most of these guys we're talking about, if you're an offensive guy thinking that any of these guys are going to come into this league right now and offensively just overwhelm anybody, forget about it. Yeah, it's going to be, you better come in there and bust your ass and be ready to guard. He is probably one of the few prospects that we talk about guys can become a 3-and-D guy. This guy is getting drafted because he knows what he is. He's not going to be that 7-footer that's going to be like, hey, man, I ain't getting enough touches. He's perfectly okay with going to the glass, offensive rebounds, kicking it out to his shooters. I think that's why you're so high on him. And again, when you watch him shooting in his workouts, like this is a guy early on, we were saying, hey, he's a late first-round pick that we talked about shooting up the draft boards because we saw somebody got him in the gym and watched him make shots saying, hey, we can work with this and we can build around this.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. I want to circle back on something because he is, like we mentioned, he's technically being drafted by Oklahoma City, but he is going to end up going to Dallas. Oklahoma City got Cason Wallace. They were able to get they brought Davis Bertans with him. However you pronounce that name, was get it off the books for Dallas. So I like that trade for both these teams, and I think it makes a lot of sense for both of them. What I want to ask you is this. When it comes to Kentucky guards, one thing that we see consistently is these guys leave school, get to the league, and end up outperforming their draft, where they get drafted, and what they did when they were in college. Devin Booker is one. Tyrese Maxey is another. Tyler Hero is another. The list goes on and on. De'Aaron Fox is another. Why? One, RC, why do you think that is? And two, do you see Cason Wallace being a guy that can kind of follow in that same mold? And T.O., you answer that too.
I don't know if he has the offensive game to that off the bounce to do that. I think he can make, shooting, catching and shooting, and then obviously on the defensive end. I think it's because these guys buy in. There's so much talent. When they go to Kentucky and they're going to Duke, they're going in groups. I mean, they're going in as these number one rated classes, and there's so many guys to buy in. You kind of accept whatever that role is. So if the three of us are going in together, it'll be, hey, Rob, you make sure you defend, facilitate, make sure you get T.O. and out of ball so we can shoot it. And, and then, you just kind of buy into that role. I mean, and when you're playing with a group of guys now, if they were going to a school that didn't have that and you trying to force shots and get your shots, that's something different. But, again, I love the pick with him. And I think, my only concern with Wallace is just offensively, creativity off the bounce. I think he's a solid game, but I don't know how dynamic offensively he's going to be.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think a lot of the stuff with Kentucky kind of stems from you kind of get put in a box and you're almost hidden a little bit.
It's just so many dudes.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys and you're almost hidden a little bit. Really, the only guy that really flourished to a point to where he was just, a surefire, Anthony Davis, but they actually told Anthony if they threw the ball into Anthony Davis, they were getting subbed out whenever he was in the post. I don't know if you guys remember that, but whenever
he was the fourth leading scorer on that team, right?
That's right. It was a great team.
Fourth leading guy.
Yeah, it was a great team. But just because when you're at Kentucky, Cal's trying to put you in a position to what you can help the team win right then and there, not necessarily what you project out 4 or 5 years from now. That's a huge thing.
Well, obviously it's not working because they've won.
They haven't gotten the same level of talent. There's been a big difference since COVID started.
Talent drop off with those guys.
There's been a talent drop off, and not only that, the best freshmen aren't winning right now. I think there's going to be a point whenever this 5th year is done. I think the power of the freshmen is going to come back.
T.O.,
I think he's going back.
Can you just let me throw some shade? Can you please just let me throw some shade? I'm just trying to throw some shade.
There's a lot of shade there. I mean, we can go Kentucky hate if you want. He hasn't been able to.
The NIL thing now, and I think he's going back to saying, "The hell with this. Let me go back to what I do and get the best high school players, and let's see what happens."
I'm not mad at it because I feel like that's going to come back and be successful again shortly. When's the 5th year done? It's got to be close.
I think next year is really.
They got another year.
Yeah.
No. So this year, this upcoming year, and the following.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. After that, I feel like the power of the freshmen is going to come back because there's not going to be that as many 24 and 25-year-olds.
Yeah, it won't be. There's just too many.
Derek Lively's mom is taller than John Shire, and John Shire is not a small dude. John Shire is 6'4", right? And Derek Lively's mom has a legit 2 inches on him.
I'm happy. I'm happy for her and him, but she's had a lot of health issues that's been well documented. I'm really happy that she's able to be there with him.
Yep. Awesome moment.
John Shire's a big dude too. People kind of.
He's a lot bigger.
He's not a small guy. And she towers over him.
Yeah.
At least we know where he got his height from, right? That's not a secret anymore. All right. So Cam Whitmore is obviously the best player on the board still. And I think that his slide is probably at this point for me is probably the story of the draft, at least at this point. But the next best,
I think Anthony Black at 6 is a big story too. I thought he was in that 8, 9, 10 range. I thought I guess it was a pretty good bump.
Yeah, it was wild. We had Anthony Black at 6, Bilal Coulibaly at 7, and Jet Howard at 11. If anybody had that, if anybody predicted that, if that was in anybody's mock drafts, just go ahead and take your bow right now because you are very obviously winning this. What's interesting is that Duke had all of their freshmen come in this year, right? That was the big thing for this season was all of the freshmen came in for Duke. And I think that you can say the guy that struggled the most, right? It's probably fair to say Kyle Filipowski, Tyrese Proctor both had great years. Tariq Whitehead was injured, but had a strong finish to the season. The guy that struggled the most was Derek Lively, and he ended up being the first guy taken off the board. Is there anything that we can take away from that, T.O.?
Being 7'2" and being a rim presence is still a big thing. And I think upside in general with him is significant just because there's so few people that are that size, that mobile. And this is we talk about projecting a guy somewhere as opposed to his current production. That's where the NBA is at, especially with American players. Like he fits that mold, right? Like you see the tip dunks, you see the soft touch from three, you see his ability to protect the rim. This is a future play just as much as it is anything else.
I thought he struggled because of the guys around. There was so much inconsistency around him. Like he's going to be
hurt too at the beginning of the year, right?
Yeah, I mean, he was injured early on and rolled his ankle and had a slow start, so he missed his conditioning. But remember, Roach missed games during the year. You know, Derek Whitehead in and out of the lineup. There was a lot of changing going on and moving parts around him that I think affected his play. But he definitely energized that group with his defensive ability and rebounding.
Yeah, and I think this is not going to be surprising when people hear me say it, but Duke's season turned around when Derek Lively figured out how to take over games defensively. He is a guy. I mean, he averaged 5 points and 5 boards, but that was not his impact on the game over the final stretch of the season, and that's exactly why Dallas is drafting him in that spot.
2 years in a row, Duke centers picked in the top 15.
That's true. Not guard you anymore, T.O.? What are you taking away from that? You trying to hit at something?
Well, no, I mean, but you don't have to average a ton of points if you're that type of player. And you go there at Duke and you allow people to get up in the passing lanes, and he's just sitting back there. You're going to be able to show off your rim protection ability.
Yeah,
and he's going to be able to switch and just move his feet too.
Yeah, he can do that a little bit. You know what it says to me? Know your role and do your job.
Yeah.
Know your role and do your job. If you know your role and do your job, it's not about the numbers.
This Raptors pick is wildly intriguing to me because they shouldn't be as bad as what they are. Like that, it felt like, they were 42 and 40, 9th in the West. Like this, Pascal Siakam, Van Fleet, Gary Trent Jr., who just opted out, OG Anunoby, who they've been trying to move. Scotty Barnes is there. This might be a Cam Whitmore spot.
Make a lot of sense.
They
would love those long athletic dudes.
Or Grady Dick wears that red jacket because he's going to the Raptors. Literally the worst jacket I've ever seen. Have you guys seen Despicable Me 3 where the dude has the shoulder pads? Have you seen this? Have you seen this movie? Rob, I know you've seen this movie with Balthazar Bratt. The guy's name is Balthazar Bratt, and he has shoulder pads and a suit. And I think the suit's the same cut as my man Grady Dick has on right now. And it is atrocious. It is atrocious.
Somebody needs to change that quick. Hopefully that won't make it to when he gets drafted.
Looks like something Dagan Hughes would wear.
Hey, we should get that for Goodman. We should get that for Goodman.
I would love to see Goodman try to pull that off. I would love to see Goodman try to pull that off. All right, while we're waiting for the next pick to come in, I want to ask you guys this: Who are the players that you are higher on? If you were drafting and you were going to make a move like Bilal Coulibaly at 7, like Jet Howard at 11, T.O., you look like you're thinking over there. You look like you're deep in thought.
Pondering.
Who is the guy that you would be taking that swing for, where you would be trading up and maybe reaching for him?
You know what? There's a lot of guys still available. And the fact of the matter is the Raptors have a nice team. They're just missing a couple of pieces. Do they want shooters? Do they want somebody they could run some offense for? They have a new coach in line there. Like, a couple of guys. I'm just shocked that Jet Howard went so high. That's a huge one. Noah Clowney's a guy that I'm pretty high on. Jaime Jaquez, you want somebody that can fit in and play with a lot of guys. The back half of this draft has a lot of role player potential. It's just a matter of what direction you want to go. I could see a Jalen Hood-Schifino going here in the next, 2-3 picks. So from 15 on, you have to go with guys you think are going to be role players from here on out.
So the one that I would give you, and you talked me into this, is Amari Bailey for a lot of different reasons. Yeah.
I see. I'm gonna tell you the one guy I think left in this draft that could be a star if he can make the full transition to point. We talked about this in our evaluations. Is Jalen Hood-Schifino.
Mm-hmm.
If he can be a point guard, that side.
RC, hold that thought for 1 second,
dude. Look at this jacket.
Toronto has made the Dick pick. They have drafted Grady Dick with the 13th pick. T.O., everything that you hate about life has come to fruition. And you know what? It's not even a jacket. The shirt that he has underneath the jacket is matching the jacket. It's a whole outfit. It's an entire suit.
It's a fucking turtleneck.
That's horrible.
It is horrible.
Is glitter? That's horrible. Like seriously,
His mother is embarrassed.
If
That thing
anybody
looks
was
awful.
gonna,
he
I'm
lost
not
the
gonna lie.
bet. He lost the bet. That's the only reason why he's wearing it. He lost the bet.
I'm not gonna lie. If there was anybody that I was expecting to come out wearing a suit like that, Grady Dick would have been the last person that I would have guessed would be the guy coming out there wearing that outfit.
He's MC Hammer.
Talk about this
That's
fit. Talk about this fit. to me,
horrible.
I
Tino.
can't stop talking about the suit.
That's horrible.
That is, God. That is.
Can you tell me more about Despicable Me 3?
Well, you're looking at him. You're looking at the bad guy. No, hey, look, Grady Dick's a good player. I think to go along with what they have there already, they need a shooter. And not only that, they get a shooter with size. Grady Dick's a nice player, and he got better defensively as the year went on. He's a guy who can put it on the deck, one dribble, and knock down shots. And he's not a bad athlete, guys. Is he going to be one of these elite defenders? No, but I also don't think he's going to be one of the guys that you have to take off the floor at the end of games. I think he's going to be fine. I'm not saying he didn't shoot it as well in workouts as, say, Kyle Korver or somebody like that would have, but he's a gamer and he plays really well when the stakes are the highest, and he continuously moves without the ball. And while it's not the quickest shot to go off, the fact that he has a high release point and he is that size, it certainly helps. He's a very good player who's a very bad dresser, and I want to go cry.
So much for these guys in situations like this too. Like what trades are going on, right? Like what guy in their position or who's free agents that are leaving that give these guys opportunities? Because some of these guys are going to, we're talking G League, so like we're just making the assumption just because some of these guys are first round draft picks. As we're getting to that point now, we're about to start hitting, in the latter part of this round, we're looking at playoff teams, and they can't help them. No disrespect to them. There ain't many kids out here that can come on and help any of these teams we're talking about in the playoffs.
Exactly. But if you look at their team, like, nice fit. Pascal Siakam, Fred VanVleet, OG Anunoby's an emerging player in this league. Gary Trent Jr., who just opted out, is a nice player. Even Scotty Barnes, who they drafted last year, was he at 16 points a game? What are you laughing at?
Somebody just commented that Grady Dick looks like Liberace just bought a used Mazda dealership.
Seriously, that is horrible, man.
Oh man,
it might be the worst one I've ever seen.
You know what I'll say about Grady Dick is that I think if you go back and if you watch the tape of him from like November, he was horrible defensively. Like he was missing rotations. He wasn't in the right spot. He was getting beat on straight line drives. He was another guy where I think if you listen to what people were saying about him heading into the preseason, like nobody was hyping this dude up like he was going to be a lottery pick, right? Like you just didn't hear that coming out of Kansas in like September and October. But as the season went on, like I think he got better defensively. I think the desire is there for him to want to guard, and I think that's like probably half the battle of being a good defender is actually giving a shit about being a good defender, right? And I think he does give a shit. And I think he's one of these guys where when the lights are brightest, he shows up and he's ready to play. And I don't know. I really like him. And I think he's going to be a guy that just kind of figures it out at the next level. I don't know if that means he's going to be a starter. I don't know if that means he's going to be a guy that averages double figures. I just think he's going to be a guy that hangs around the NBA for a while, because when you're 6'8", you're athletic enough, you want to guard, and you can shoot the shit out of it. Like that's a very good combination of things to be.
Everybody wants shooting. And at his size, being 6'8", all he has to do is give a damn about playing defense, and he's going to be there on the floor. I don't know. I have my concerns long-term about how good of a defender he can actually be, but he's 6'7", 6'8", and he can shoot the hell out of it. And everybody wants, like I said, we said it earlier. I mean, he's one of the top two, if not the best shooter in this draft. And Hen Hawkins, and at his size, going to a good team with guys that can create off the bounce, he'll be able to do what he does. His superpower is catching and shooting threes.
You know who else can shoot the hell out of it? Jordan Hawkins. You know who was the last lottery pick? Jordan Hawkins. Off the board, number 14, going to the Pelicans. He's joining Zion Williamson, maybe. He's joining Brandon Ingram, maybe. He's joining a roster that has, in theory, a couple guys that can really create off the bounce and need some floor spacing. I think it makes a lot of sense. I like that fit. What do you guys think, RC? What do you think?
Everybody starved for shooting. He has the size. I worry about him defensively. I think he's just thin, and he has good height. I think he's thin. Again, we talked about it before. These guys are going back to back. Now you're starting to see teams draft because we're getting into some of this area now where teams are, right there on the playoff, in the playoffs and are right there to play in games. And having a guy that can knock down shots matters. Like we're approaching here now with, the Pelicans. They're a team that, when healthy, we know they're going to be there. And you need somebody to stretch and stretch the floor and make shots. And the question I would have for him again is just guarding people. I think he's going to struggle somewhat defensively, and we don't know what the Pelican organization is going to do right now. There's so much rumor swirling about Zion. I don't know if they're going to make a move. I think they may decide to keep this thing together for one last year, and let's see what happens with it. But I like Jordan Hawkins' size, ability to make shots. I just worry about him defensively early in his career.
You know what I love about the pick, though, is the fact that C.J. McCollum was there.
Great pro form.
Yeah, great pro
But they're totally different players, though. CJ can boogie with it. Got a little more wiggle with them. I don't know. I don't see that being, Jordan's game.
Yeah, but is there going to be a point where Jordan picks that up? Or his lack of showing that, does that have anything to do with the system that he was in?
No, that's not what he is.
He's more straight line. I think he's more shot fake, put it down straight line. Wiggling with it, that ain't him.
I don't think that he is a guy that is ever going to be someone that can.
He ain't a ball screen guy.
No, he can't. He's not going to beat you off the dribble, off a standstill. Like if he comes off of a curl and he has like a half a step on you already, he can get to the basket and he can go dunk on you. But that is if he needs a running start. Like he's not someone that's going to square you up, jab one way and get to the basket. Like he doesn't have that first step burst. What he has is an ability to be able to run off screens and sprint into shots and catch and shoot while running full speed better than anybody, I think, in the NBA outside of maybe Duncan Robinson. Like he's going to walk in and be like a top 10 off of a screen shooter in the league. So you need
that is wild.
No way.
Watch.
That is a wild.
That,
I'm
watch.
a UConn. That is a wild. I am a UConn.
That's a UConn bias coming out of you right now.
Watch his ability.
That is such a wild statement right there.
Watch.
A top 10
No,
off
it
the
ain't
run
wild.
shooter.
He's biased.
Okay.
You know he's biased.
Running
running
up
off
and
the
down
screens.
rosters, right, dude? They got like 4 on one team. That's like,
what's our Twitter guy handle? What's the Twitter guy, Mr. Hot Balls? You making that comment to Mr. Hot Balls? That's what you're doing.
Yeah, you just firing up him. Like
we don't need to get this going again. No,
wild statement.
look, he's
holy crap.
I think that he is going to make a creative coach and someone that's really smart in how they use guys off the ball. He's gonna make him a weapon, right? And I don't know if that's Willie Green or not. I didn't watch enough of the Pelicans. They're not good enough for me to pay attention to before the playoffs start. But I think that if you're smart and you are creative with what you run, that you'll be able to turn Jordan Hawkins to a weapon. And I think that if you can manipulate defenses with a guy with his shooting ability, and you got guys like Brandon Ingram and CJ McCollum and Zion Williamson out there, I really like the fit. I think he's a weapon. I think he's someone that you can use.
I'm not mad at the fact that he's a weapon. I'm just blown away with the fact that you said he might be top 10 already. Dude, he's a $180 soaking wet.
Yeah,
and like, dude, trying to come off a screen in the NBA. Dude,
yeah,
people, the guys guarding him are going to be 215, 220 pounds to be able to come straight in.
Hey, look, you're forgetting something, man. He's going to New Orleans. You know how good the food is down there? Jordan Hawkins is going to put on 30 pounds in the first week. You see what Zion Williamson looks like? He's going to be on the
I
same
worry
block
about
with
him.
Zion.
Hey, Zion's been spending all his time in Dallas. He ain't even been in New Orleans.
Yeah, I think he'll struggle to crack the rotation early, but he'll evolve into a hell of a player. I think his ability to shoot will be great, but he need dudes. He need dudes with him, and they got dudes in New Orleans now.
Hey, ESPN showing Ray Allen.
No.
Late career Ray Allen.
Because young Ray Allen.
Young career Ray Allen was a freaking
scorer.
He was a
scorer.
Yeah. He was a dog. He was a dog. And that is disrespectful to Ray. Ray Allen go in there and dunk on him.
No, what he is modern. The ceiling for him is modern Rip Hamilton. Right, Rip Hamilton was running off of screens and hitting 12-footers and 15-footers.
But my concern with that, and I agree with you, is no one plays like that anymore.
Mhm.
They're not just running floppy action and you just run off from side to side.
No, that's why I'm saying like you need a creative coach. You need someone that's going to kind of understand how to utilize that ability. I don't think Jordan Hawkins is going to be a starter in the NBA. I think he's an off the bench guy.
Dude, if he's top 10 in anything in the NBA, he's a freaking starter. So
I
like
think
you're going
Duncan
against,
Robinson,
like, dude, you are
no,
freaking
no,
wild.
that's not
Theo,
true.
let him walk it back.
Duncan Robinson, Duncan
Adama
Robinson
Sanogo.
might be the best shooter on the planet, and he lost his starting job to Max Struz. Okay,
Who?
Duncan Robinson might be the best shooter on the planet.
Stop
Three-point
it.
shooter.
Stop it.
It's a fact.
Stop it.
All right, we have the number 15 pick in Atlanta Hawks.
Adama Sanogo.
First non-lottery pick is Kobe Buffkin. Going
Look at
15.
RC. RC was so disappointed in your take. He leaned back and we just lost him.
I almost fell out my
Can't see him
window,
anymore.
Theo, and I'm on the 28th floor.
Hey, Vegas, they got those doors locked.
Hey, Theo, look at my view. I'm on the 28th floor. I almost fell out my window, man.
Yeah, I know. Unreal.
All right, let's talk about Kobe Buffkin because you are the Hawks. I feel like you're in a weird spot if you're the Hawks, right? You got Trae Young, who may or may not be the franchise
He kind
player.
of wants to be there, yeah.
Yeah. You have DeJounte Murray, who may or may not still be there after this season, right? You got some other pieces that you're trying to figure out. The Bogdanovich kid is he's going to end up being a free agent, right? Like there's a lot of moving parts there. Do you think this is the pick that you need to make? Do you want to go after a guy like Kobe Buffkin when there are still players like a Nick Smith, like a Cam Whitmore, some of these other guys on the board? What do you think of it, Tio?
It all depends on what they're going to do at the guard spots. Like the Hawks are the ones that are kind of stuck in purgatory right now. Like Trae Young is not going to take you to a finals, but he might get you to an 8 seed. DeJounte Murray, that combination didn't work out as well as a lot of people thought. They got rid of Kevin Huerter, who that hurt them a lot as the season went on, kind of that third playmaking guard. They're in purgatory. Can Kobe Buffkin be that guy? He played really well later in the season, and Michigan really benefited because of him. We'll see how that goes moving forward. But like you said, Atlanta's in a different spot under some new leadership, and we'll see exactly how that happens. I'm not mad at the pick, but like I don't think there was really a wrong answer. You needed to go for talent here, and Cam Whitmore continues to drop.
Yeah,
Continues to drop.
RC, what do you make of Kobe Buffkin as a player? Because he's a guy we spent all season talking about Hunter Dickinson at Michigan. We spent a lot of time talking about, I don't know if Jett Howard is the guy. Kobe Buffkin ends up being, I know that Jett Howard got drafted before him. I think Kobe Buffkin's the highest upside guy coming out of that Michigan team. Remember, Kobe Buffkin, sophomore, is a week younger than Jett Howard, freshman. You got to view what this dude did as a one and done. He averaged 15 points, 6 boards, 4 assists. I think he is terrific. I love this kid.
I'm a big fan of him. He got the Bruno Mars look going right now, coming up on stage. I think he's.
I'm not mad at that.
I think he's going to a unique situation because I don't think the Hawks can run that same team back. You know, they are just like so many teams. You're starting to see trades. I'm shocked to see they hadn't been in trade yet, and I don't know if you can run back. They got to figure out a way to recoup the draft picks that they acquired and making all these trades and you know, bringing that roster together. So having another guy that can create off the bounce, I'm just curious and hope that they break that roster up a little bit and see where it goes. I mean, there's some draft picks going on. I'm wondering if he stays. You know, to be interesting to see if he stays because the Hawks are one of those teams, sure, like John Collins' name's been rumored around, you know, for so long about making a trade. So does he stay? Does he go? I know he doesn't want to be the 15th pick buried behind those two guys that just don't come off the floor.
Yeah. You know what I love about him next to Trae Young, if that's what happens? I think Kobe's good enough to be able to be a spot-up shooter. I think he's someone that's good enough to play with the ball in his hands. I think he's someone that's good enough to play in ball screens. I think he is T.O., you compared somebody else to Malcolm Brogdon. We'll get into that maybe later if the guy ends up being a first-round pick. But I think Kobe Buffkin's in that Malcolm Brogdon, Derek White, that kind of secondary ball handler, another guy that can run ball screens, that can
He's
run
a little more
second
slippery
unit.
than those two. He's a little more slippery.
Let me ask you guys this. If you're the Hawks, who do you move?
You don't want me to answer that.
Well,
You move the
Trae
guy.
Young?
You move the guy that. Yeah, I think you got to move Trae Young. I think you
if
got to
you
move
can.
Trae Young. Yeah. I don't think that you can do what you want to be able to do as an NBA franchise when Trae Young is your guy. I just think that somebody that is that much of a liability defensively, I can't see it.
Are those suede brown shoes that Kobe Buffkin's wearing?
Yeah, with no undershirt on.
Dude, I actually appreciate the no undershirt because he's going straight to the club and he doesn't have to worry about finding his shirt later in the night.
Yeah, he gonna sweat
Because
that out.
that shirt was coming off. Like
Yep.
his shirt was coming off in the club. Getting drafted top 15? Are you kidding me?
15th pick.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Number 16 pick is in. The Utah Jazz made their second pick of the first round, and they are going with Keontae George out of Baylor. This is a guy that if you talk to different NBA draft experts, scouts, he divided a lot of people. I'm very high on him. I think that if everything clicks for him, he is a guy that can end up being an all-star. I think he has that kind of an upside. I don't think it's crazy to say that there's Devin Booker in his range of outcomes. I think that he could be that if some things work out. I'll talk about that later.
Devin Booker?
I think there's also bust potential when it comes to this dude. Right? Yep. RC, TO, what do you guys make of
Devin
Keontae
Booker's
George?
like 4 inches taller, isn't he?
No, they're like it's like he's 6'4", the other guy Booker's 6'5". It's not that big of a difference.
I don't know if that's true.
He's just not the scorer. That's a tough comp. I mean,
I think he
Booker-
is. The weird thing about this pick, RC, sorry for cutting you off, but
No, you're good.
they already have Jordan Clarkson. And they're kind of that same mold. Now, what I will say, I think Keontae George sees it. And what I mean when I say that is I think he can be a second-level passer. Even at the NBA level, I think he'll benefit some from the more open style of play, the ball screen, the wrong ways, a lot of things that NBA teams like to do. He's going to benefit. He doesn't have elite wiggle, but he does make some tough shots. The fact that it's Jordan Clarkson's already there and he kind of serves that role and that purpose, that's interesting to me. He might be a guy that goes back and forth to the G League for a year or two to see if he can really, really figure it out. And then maybe they let Clarkson go elsewhere. Does that make sense? Like that might be something that goes there because they kind of fit the same kind of role. But I do think Keontae George as a passer has shown some upside.
All right, so let's reset quickly what's happened here recently. The 11th pick was Jet Howard, which shocked everybody. I think T.O. almost fell out of his chair. 12th pick was Derek Lively going to the Mavericks after that pick was traded to Oklahoma City. The 13th pick was Grady Dick, who again made T.O. very upset, made RC very upset because of the outfit that he was wearing. 14th pick, best shooter in the NBA walking in day one, Jordan Hawkins. 15th pick, last pick of the first half of the first round was Kobe Buffkin, and the 16th pick was Keontae George. Glad we were able to reset that. I don't need Dagan yelling at me any more than he already does.
Dagan would never.
Yes.
Hey, dude, by the way, Jay Billis is massive, dude. He is a massive human. Like Jay Billis is every bit of 6'10". Wembanyama makes him look like 6'2". Like it is crazy how big this dude is. I can't get over it. He makes a microphone look like a toothpick.
When he picked up the baseball the other day and it looked like he was holding
man, how funny was that?
A bouncy ball in the palm of his hand, and then like when they asked him to throw it into the crowd, did you guys see this? He wound up and he threw it as hard as he could into the crowd. It wasn't like a soft toss. He was like, all right, I'm gonna try to throw this thing 85 miles an hour into the crowd.
He was getting revenge. He was getting revenge for that
him.
terrible pitch. He's like, don't doubt me. Don't doubt me. And then he almost killed a pedestrian.
All right, so Keontae George, I'm going to give you my 30-second spiel on why I think that he is a guy with all-star upside. I'm buying the shot making. I'm buying the isolation scoring.
I agree with you. I just think the Devin Booker thing. I'm not sure I buy that because Sorry, I'll let you finish.
The scoring, the ability to score in isolation. I think he's got all of the dash backs, right? Pullbacks, step backs. However you want to phrase it, he's got all those shots in his arsenal. I think he's got deep range. I think he is a tough shot maker. And I think that part of part of why his percentages were what they were in college this past season is because a lot of the shots that he took was tough stuff off the dribble. I think that those numbers are going to get a little bit better. My biggest question, and I'm curious if you guys saw any of this past year. Going back and watching some of his film, I watched every one of his assists from this past season, and I can't decide if the stuff that he does out of ball screens and the passes that he makes are him reading defenses and figuring out the guys that are going to be open, or essentially running a play that Scott Drew has drawn up where he's told this is the pass that you have to make and him being able to make that pass. I don't know. That's the one thing I can't figure out, because if he can make those secondary reads, I think that he's a guy that can average like 18 points and 4 assists at the NBA level pretty easily if everything comes together for him.
He made those reads at a high level when I saw him in the summer when he was playing for.
You can't script it. You can't script that. That's one of those things. The guys passing it like that, you just got to give him credit for having that vision, because I don't care how great you are scheming up a play, you still don't know how someone's going to defend it, and he's just done it too many times to second guess his ability as a playmaker.
I was sitting beside our guy David Bentley watching him play in Birmingham a couple of years ago, and he came off a ball screen that was a wrong way, and he fired it from about 3 feet off the right elbow all the way to the left corner. And me and Bentley just look at each other. It was like, man, that's why that guy's going to get paid a lot of money. I didn't think he was going to be a score first as what he was at Baylor, but I do think like it's there. It's a matter if that's going to be his go-to is creating for somebody else. I do think it's there. It's just a matter of that. But I think one thing that we don't measure enough, and it's impossible to measure it, is competitiveness. That dude's competitive. Like if a game's close, the game's on the line, it's Keontae George's ball. He didn't care how many seniors was on that Baylor team. He's taking that shot. And that is something, confidence and competitiveness at the NBA level. Let's keep in mind too, and I say this without a shadow of a doubt, like 80% of guys in the NBA don't love hoop. They are big dudes collecting checks. Keontae George loves hoop, and he's competitive as all hell. I think like that's going to help him stick even during a couple of bad seasons if they do occur.
I like the fit with Utah just because I think they need guys that can kind of play this role, right? They need guys that can be their bucket getter, that can create. They already drafted Taylor Hendricks, who's a floor spacer. They got Lauri Markkanen, who's I didn't realize this because I didn't watch much Utah this past season, but he averaged 25 points a game.
Yeah,
right.
All-star.
He's a guy at the 4 that can really shoot it, right? You got a guy in Walker Kessler who isn't going to space the floor like a jump shooter, but he is a guy that's going to space the floor as a rim runner and as a lob threat, right? So you need someone that can that can take advantage of that space that gets created. I think that is someone that is right. That's what he could do, right, RC?
We're starting to get now when you get in this part of the draft again. He's going to a really good situation for a guy. I think that'll be on a roster all year long. I think we're going to start, as we get further down here and we start getting in the 20s, we're going to start seeing some guys that'll just go to G Leagues, and I don't know, as we get past, like next, I think the Lakers are on the clock next, be curious to see, they'll probably need some depth, but we'll start seeing some specialists in shooting. I think he's one of the more dynamic guys. Keontae's left that he could be really damn good. I mean, we don't know what his ceiling could be. And you throw that out there in Utah where he's going to get a chance to play and play through some mistakes that some of these guys getting drafted here on out won't get a chance to do.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. He's going to get opportunities. He's going to get a chance to develop and to learn. He's going to get a chance to play. So I really like the pick. You know what's really interesting here?
Bad suit choice.
Yeah, you're hating on all these guys that got their style. They're trying to show their personality.
Dude, you know what? Thompson twins had nice suits. Koulibaly, nice suit. Clean, elegant. I don't know what that is.
Wembanyama
had a nice suit and went with a green. Like I don't know what Keontae George's goal is. Like what is this thing?
I don't know. I think you could pull it off, Tio.
Me?
Yeah.
Sweet
I think you can
Lord.
pull it off.
Dude, I'm so white, I'm see-through.
I think we ought to get you that, Tio, for the Final Four next year.
Yeah, 100%. Since you bailed on wearing the hot dog suit after you lost the bet, you got to.
I wore the hot dog suit. We have evidence.
All right,
what are you talking about? Would I wear it for an hour?
So, all right. So The Lakers are picking here, and I think that this is one of the more interesting spots to draft in the first round because if I was a Lakers fan, I would have been really, really hoping that one of Grady Dick or Jordan Hawkins would have fallen to me at 17, right?
Yeah.
Or even to Jed Howard, someone that could be a shooter to put around LeBron James. I don't know if there is anybody left on the board right now that is a good enough shooter or a good enough prospect that you could draft him in this spot. But you know who's still on the board right now? Cam Whitmore.
I almost hope he slides past this one and goes to Miami.
I wouldn't hate that.
Yeah, I don't like Cam with the Lakers.
You know who I like Cam with?
Miami.
Jimmy Butler.
Miami. Yep.
Yeah.
Miami. That would be great for him.
So who do you like here for the Lakers, RC?
Oh,
Jalen
I got one that
makes some sense.
That's exactly literally who I was going to say.
Who did you say?
Your boy,
Jalen Hood-Schifino.
Jalen Hood-Schifino.
I'm gonna tell you the two guards I like for the rest of this draft, no matter where they go, is Jalen Hood-Schifino and Kobe Jones.
All right, talk to me about Jalen. We agree on Kobe.
I just, I hope that's what they decide to go to.
Guess what, RC? Guess what? Shams just came through. You know who the Lakers got? Jalen Hood-Schifino. They got your boy. All right, talk to me about that fit. Talk to me about why it makes sense. Why I like it so much.
I think his upside is tremendous. I just like him. I mean, we don't know, and I said this to Goodman early in the year. He's the guy to me. Forget all the draft status and everything else. We talk about what guys can be. What he did to the Indiana team when Xavier Johnson got hurt, and they put the ball in his hands. I thought he showed everything you need to look. He showed you he could be a high-level playmaking, right decision-making closer. And if he at 6'6", if he can translate that to be a point guard, that's massive.
Yeah.
And and the reason why I say that to people is because if he goes off to the wing, he's not an elite athlete. So if he goes off to the wing, he's a good enough. But he goes up to the wing, then that's negated. You put him as your point guard, and obviously with LeBron being there, he's going to dominate the ball. But as a point guard at his size, man, I think his upside, I really think he got a chance to be special. It's just that, I think he'll be a solid veteran player because, 10-year player or so. But if he can become a point guard, I think his ceiling can go through the roof.
I think he is.
That's my thing. He projects as an NBA 1, and there's a difference between Jalen Hood-Schifino's version of 6'5", 6'6", and Jordan Hawkins' version of 6'5", 6'6". I think he's ready to play and defend
day one.
From day one. And it doesn't have to be with the first unit. It can be with that second unit because the Lakers have some guys in those spots to where he doesn't have to be great right away, but he could be serviceable right away. And I think he could be a long-time pro because of a lot of the things that he does. I'm a big fan. Big body, really skilled, had some really good games. One of the main reasons Indiana was back.
Here's what I'll say about
his
him.
size and his ability to switch as a defender is something I think the Lakers value with that. He's a guy, you don't have to hide him. It's like he's physical enough as a big guard that you're going to be able to switch in their lineup.
Here's what I'll say about Hood-Schifino. I think is there's two things that stand out to me. The first is I think he is a good, willing defender. Like I think that he, how everyone will say he's got that dog in him, right? Like I think he does. He's kind of like a quiet, laid back dude. But I think he's got that in him, right? We saw it was it the Purdue game at home when he took over down the stretch? He had like 35. That was Purdue, right? And two, what we saw in that game was his ability to kind of get to that like mid-range pull-up, right? That's where he was a killer. It was like 13 to 17 feet off the bounce. Zach Edey's playing drop coverage, right? He squares you up. He waits to get you off balance and he knocks down that little 15-footer. If you can shoot like that from 15 feet off the dribble, the way that he can, then I am convinced that you're going to be able to extend that range out when you get beyond being just a freshman in college, right? So I'm buying him as a shooter long-term, which means I don't think he's just a guy that's going to have to be a point guard, right? And I see a lot of value in players that are I kind of like it's kind of like the Tyrese Halliburton mold, if that makes sense, where they can do all the stuff as a point guard, but they're good enough shooters where you could play him off the ball, so you can go and get another creator next to him. Does that make sense? I think he can be one of those guys. I would not be surprised to see him kind of hit that level of maybe not the exact same player as Halliburton, but the same kind of impact. Does that make sense? Am I making sense?
I like the comparison.
Wasn't
I get what you're
Halliburton an
saying.
All-Star? Was Halliburton an
Yeah.
All-Star?
Yeah. I mean, he was like, he's right. He's paid like one.
Mm-hmm.
I can I can tell you that he's paid like an all-star. I'm a big fan of this kid. I really am. I think he has his upside is tremendous. It's let's see how much with so much thrown at him, and then now he's going to a situation where veteran guys have struggled under the presence of LeBron and the pressure that comes with doing that. And so let's see how he responds to that. Now, in some aspect, that's a bit much. But playing with those guys at 6'5", 220, he'll have, they'll take some of that pressure off of him, but as much as they can.
What do you make of the Lakers now at this point, right? You're dealing with a LeBron who's not getting any younger. You got Anthony Davis there who can be dominant, but is a guy who, always injured, and it feels like once he kind of hits that wall and he gets tired, you don't get anything out of him. Like, is adding Hood Schifino the kind of thing that can make them better day one? Because you're not trying to bet on a guy that's going to be an impact player in 5 years. Like, you need to win now if you're the Lakers. That window is closing with LeBron James.
You know what I think? I'll add that just to you. I think this pick had a lot to do with who the Lakers feel they're going to have to go through next year to get back, and that's Denver. Denver was massive this year.
Yeah.
They're just a massive team. And now a team like the Lakers are knowing, like, hey, we got to draft. We need size. We need perimeter. We need guard size because, we need somebody that can – I'm not saying he's going to come in and bother Jamal Murray, but, Jamal Murray, he needs to be able to see you, though. And as a 6'6" guard, he's going to know that he's at least there. And he's someone that, comp-wise, that I was saying, I think that's the type of player that Schifino should just strive to be like. But I think they needed the big guard instead of the smaller guards that Murray just was too big, too physical to match up with.
Mm-hmm. All right, so pick 18 is on the board. It's the Miami Heat. They've made it to the NBA Finals this past season. Right?
That's Cam all day.
That's got to be Cam. I mean, bring it, say, talking about low assist rates, doesn't pass the ball, only looking to shoot. Like, you don't have a choice if you're going to play with Jimmy Butler than to play the right way.
Mm-hmm.
Like, a lot of people would have thought that about him going into Villanova, being a ball stopper. Villanova thrives on ball movement, all that stuff. He didn't do that this year. Like, you go there and you play with Jimmy Butler, go ahead and try to be selfish. Go ahead and try to be selfish. It's not going to work. So you take a guy with elite scoring upside and you put him in that Heat culture. And I feel like that's just such an overused thing, but I think it's a real thing because you have that many undrafted guys that can fit into something like that. It makes too much sense. And I feel like he could really thrive with that type of leadership in front of him.
How does this?
I think they need a stretch four maybe. If they don't take Cam, I think like a stretch four, somebody else because Butler played a lot of four when they went to their small ball lineup. How does
this impact a kid? Right? If we're talking about Cam Whitmore, right? You're supposed to be a top 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pick, right? And we're sitting here, it's 10:03 in the PM, right? How does that? Is this something where are you worried about him? Is it something where you say like, okay, you use this as motivation?
I'm gonna tell you this. So this is the one thing that's funny when we were joking earlier about me getting drafted, and I remember talking to Sacramento, and they ended up going with Corliss Williamson, and it was a 2-2. One of the guys I knew, one of the coaches was a DC guy, and he called my representation, and they put me on the phone, and he said, right now we're split. The room is 2-2, and the owner's going to make the final pick. This is like 12th, right? And they went with Corliss Williamson. So at this point, it doesn't matter. It ain't like football where you just draft the best guy. In NBA, it's got to be a fit. There's got to be a need. And then when you start, as I said, you're getting into these realms. You're getting into teams that have really good players or a lot of money invested into that. So for me going from 12th to when I tell y'all 19th, I can honestly tell you where I was when my name got called. I grabbed my dogs and started walking my damn dogs down the street. That by the time my name got called, they had to call me and I had to run back in the house and talk to the team. Because I was just losing my damn mind. I mean, you was sitting there because I was like, I didn't go. And I literally, at that point, when they called and I didn't get drafted, I mean, it didn't take me to 11 or 12, whatever it was. I just said 13, I think it was. And I'm like, holy shit. I just went outside, man. I grabbed 2 more picks later. I went and started walking my dogs.
It's always tough for the guys that get stuck in the green room, right?
Oh,
You always feel bad for them when they
Miami just made
there.
an interesting pick.
Yeah, well, I saw it. I'll get to it in 1 second, but you always feel bad for them where the ESPN cameras are zooming in on their faces, right? Like you never want that for a player in that situation. Miami's pick is in. They are drafting a guy from LA. It's not Cam Whitmore. It's Jaime Jaquez, a dude who I think fits the culture of the Miami Heat better than just about anybody in this draft. And I don't think if you would have told me before this college basketball season started, RC, that Jaime Jaquez was going to be a top 20 pick in this year's NBA draft, I don't think I would have believed you. I love him, though. I love him as a player. I love him as a kid. I love the hair. I think he's tough as shit. I love everything about this dude. And I'll tell you what, I know this for a fact. When he got to UCLA, he changed the culture of that program. They remember when he got there, they were coming off the Steve Alford era, right?
Yeah.
Where no one was playing defense. It wasn't UCLA basketball. He came in, Mick Cronin was there, and he changed the culture of UCLA basketball. And you take a guy like that and plug him into the Miami Heat roster, I'll tell you who's going to love that fucking dude. Jimmy Butler is going to love that dude. I don't think there is a more perfect fit than adding Jaime Jaquez to that team. I don't know if he's exactly what you want as a player, like in an ideal world, but man, he just fits so perfectly. I love it, RC.
Hey, you know what Miami's so good at too? Saying, damn, all the measurements, damn, he tested well. That being said, when he plays, he's not this antelope looking runner where he just kind of floats and jumps and glides down the court. What he is he's a damn good basketball player.
Yes.
So he makes the right plays with consistency. I think he's a very undervalued one-on-one player if he gets it at the elbow, because he's so fundamentally sound. He's going to pump fake you to death. He's going to jab step. He reads leverage incredibly well. And as he tested, he's a better athlete than people give him credit for. This is a big
39-inch vert.
Yeah, this is a big dude who can make plays, create plays. He's going to defend, and he's switchable. Now, is he going to be able to stay in front of some of these elite point guards? I don't necessarily think so. But the dude's a winner. He understands positioning. He knows when to attack, and he's a good athlete. Not a great athlete. He's a good athlete.
I think he fits in system-wise with those guys as well. I mean, just offensively with the mid-post, trying to rep screens, trying to force switches, using their size as their big wings, kind of how Jimmy plays. Jimmy will set a screen, you switch, all right, give me the ball, I'm going to shoot over your little guard. Let me pick your matchup. You switch, put a bigger guy on me, I'll face and I'll drive you. So happy for him. He's going to a hell of a situation. God, that's and at this point in the draft, that's what it's about. You want to go somewhere where it's just a great fit, for him, obviously a team that went to the NBA finals. He gets to come in and add some depth. So that's a hell of an opportunity for him.
Miami values
down. The smile on his face when he sat down to go talk to Monica McNutt on the draft coverage was like, man, it was huge. It was as big as a smile on my face.
Hey, I'm freaking jealous of this kid. He freaking lives in LA and then he fucking comes and he lives in Miami. Like, are you kidding me? Like shit.
Good for him. Good for him. Miami values winning stuff.
Yeah.
And at a time in the draft, like where it's so much potential, Miami grabs dudes who can play. Miami grabs dudes who do winning things. I mean, if that's one thing that Pat Riley knows, like he knows what winning looks like.
Yes, and he got himself a winner.
He did.
Like, the thing about Jaime Jaquez too is when he got there, I remember when he committed, like it was one of those things where you're getting a 3-star dude from like some local LA school to UCLA, like they're just getting him to be a practice player, right? They're just getting him to do a favor for some high school coach or some power broker or some AAU guy just to make sure that it's like, hey, look, we do take your guys. We do bring them in. We do make sure that you still have players at UCLA, right? So I love it. Almost as much as I love the 19th pick. Should we go there, T.O.?
Yeah, go there.
We gotta go there. You know what? You take it away, man. You make it. You announce the pick.
You're only giving it to me because it's hard to pronounce.
Well, yeah. I mean, look, you got to.
Brandon Podziemski is going.
Podziemski.
No, but no, that's not how you spelled it. He's messing up his own name. He's going to Golden State.
Just Santa Clara kid.
You said he's messing up his own name.
Yeah, he's
Santa Clara, from Santa Clara to Golden State. How about that? AirPods is what they call them. AirPods. Unbelievable.
Why do they call him AirPods? Pick. What's the story behind AirPods? That seems like such a vague nickname.
His last name is Podz, so they call him AirPods.
I don't like it. I don't like it. The creativity level is
struggling. Let me just let you. They don't call him that. That is what his dad gets into. If you tweet about him, his dad will jump into your mention or your DMs and say it's AirPods.
Okay.
It's okay. I was joking calling him that. Anyway, we did the breakdown of him, T.O., and I know you really like his game.
Dante DiVincenzo. Like very similar. Like he can score a little bit. He's big. He can shoot over the top. I think here's one thing, and I'm going to go on a little soapbox right now, but like one thing that's so incredibly important, if you're a young high school player with NBA potential, make sure you go to the right fit. He goes to Illinois. He plays a grand total of 22 minutes over the course of the whole season. Mm-hmm. Leaves there, goes to Santa Clara, finds a perfect fit with a coach that knows how to put him in winning positions, and he gets drafted in the first round. Now, how does that happen? Right? Like, this is a talented kid, but he picks the right school, and now he's where he should be. There's other guys in this draft that left early that picked the wrong school.
And T.O., the right team picks him.
That's right. That's right.
Boy, oh boy, he got rewarded in a big way, didn't he?
Yeah, just go right down the road too. Stays in California. I'm not mad at him. But
you know what? I really like. He's another one of these guys that I think fits really well as that like secondary kind of a playmaker. And I think when you put someone, because he could pass it too, he could rebound too. I think he led the WCC in rebounding, didn't he?
Dude
as
boards.
5 guard.
Dude can board. Dude can board.
He shoots the shit out of it. So there's going to be the floor spacing. You could put him in ball screens a little bit. He's a little bit older. This is not a kid that is just coming in as like an 18 or 19-year-old. I question the defense. That's the thing. Like he is, when I say he's not an athlete, like he's not an athlete. He's just not. Like I might be more athletic than him at this point in my life.
But Rob, that's why he's going to an ideal team. And look, and even if he's as a secondary guard, look at his point guard's going to be.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's talk about that. You know what? That's a perfect segue, RC, because the Wizards and the Warriors made a trade to get Chris Paul. So the Warriors now we're looking at a situation where they got Chris Paul, they got Steph Curry, they got Klay Thompson. They will not have Jordan Poole heading into next season, and I believe Draymond opted out. Correct? I don't know if that means like it's unclear what's going to end up happening with him. But have Chris Paul, Steph Curry,
pay so much money.
Yeah. You have Chris Paul, you have Steph Curry, you have Klay Thompson. What is happening with the Warriors? Is this just they're making one last shot at it with a bunch of guys that are going to be as old? Their starting lineup is older than Terrence Oglesby. Like those 2 guys are older.
They literally.
I'm not even joking. They're older.
CP is going to start though. I think CP's coming is going to be at a secondary unit. I don't think
CP better than us, obviously. But like, would he be willing to do that?
I think he just cares about winning. I don't think that bothers him at all. And I think he wants that ring. When you're going to a going to a championship level team, obviously he knows better than having competed against those guys. I don't think he'll check his ego at the door. I think all of this is challenging. I mean, I think he's gone through a lot with the trade, and you heard all the conversations about it. But he'll be in an ideal situation there. I don't think he'll ever give a damn about whether he starts, whether he doesn't. I think for him, he just wants to be healthy at the right time and going there. I mean, shit.
And the Warriors too, they have talent coming off the bench in that second unit, but like Kuminga, some of those other guys, AirPods. I'm just going to give it to you, Rob. Like they like to be able to organize that second unit like is hugely advantageous.
He's one
Because
of those guys that you want to have for young guys.
Exactly,
bro.
bro.
I think
Yeah.
like OKC guys, their young guys benefited from his leadership of being there. And I think, and obviously I'm not questioning the leadership of any team Steph Curry's on, but I think that second unit, with him being a part of it with some of these young guys, is invaluable.
Mm-hmm. We have the 20th pick.
It
is in. It is in. Our mock draft show, I said that the Houston Rockets were going to take Cam Whitmore at number 4, and I was correct. The Houston Rockets selected Cam Whitmore. It wasn't at number 4. It was at number 20. His slide is over. He is off the board. I'm relieved for the kid. I'm happy for him.
I hate the fit.
I don't hate it, right? Well, maybe for him, I don't love it for him. I don't hate that this is where the Rockets ended up taking him, right? Because I think that you're putting him in a situation where you're going to get minutes early on. You're going to get a chance to play, right? And you're taking a swing for upside.
Where's he going to play? Is he going to come off the bench?
Are you talking about for him or for the Rockets?
For him, for the Rockets. Like, where's he going to play at for him?
I don't like the fit, T.O., like you said, but I'll say this. I think they're trying to change the culture or the perception of what the culture is right now in Houston. When so many guys left and John Wall and so many other guys left, there was a stench coming out of Houston about the locker room and these guys. I mean, with Salas, the disrespect.
RC, just to be clear, the reason there was the stench coming out of Houston is because me and my fellow UConn fans spent 6 days down there. Okay?
Oh my
That's
God.
why there was a stench coming
Trust
out.
me, because I was there.
We lit that place up. Okay,
I had to deal with y'all because you left me sitting at the bar with them all night, so I had to fight. I had to finish myself.
Those guys were great.
Hey,
those guys were great.
Didn't leave.
They were awesome.
RC, we didn't leave you there. You left us to go argue with them. To be clear. No, but I'm sorry. Finish your point on Houston.
No, I think it's a guy like him. We know he's going to bring his hard hat, some toughness there. I think this is just about collecting some talent, some tough guys, see what sticks, see who wants to be a part of changing the culture there. And if those young guys and Green and Porter and these other guys, figure out who wants to be a part of this, Jabari. I mean, you got to make some decisions and collect some of these young guys. And so I'm not disappointed with the pick because he's going to come in there, defend, compete. And that's what you're looking for when you're collecting bodies right now. You're collecting guys. You're trying to figure who's going to make it, who's going to buy in, who's not. Show them the door.
Here's what I'll say about it, right? The reason why I really like it for Houston is that you won 22 games last year. You suck. You are a bad organization. You are a bad basketball team. You're not good. You're not good. You are bad. Okay. And what you need to be able to go from being not good to good are fucking dudes. That's what you need. You don't need to try to hit singles. You need to try to hit home runs, right? You need to go out and get guys who are going to be all-star caliber players. And I think what they got out of this year's draft are 2 of the 4 or 5 most likely guys to end up being all-stars. Right? Yeah. You didn't get Wemby, but I don't think there's that much of a difference between Brandon Miller and Cam Whitmore, aside from all the medical stuff, which is, people are always going to have concerns about that if you don't test well.
But what were his medical concerns?
I don't even know.
Are you privy to say?
I don't have it well enough that I want to say it.
Okay.
While we're on the stream, but you're trying to hit home runs, man. And you got a guy
and they could.
Yeah. The medical stuff will be
what you need him for, I think you did. Your home run better be Brandon Miller. I mean, it's the second pick of the draft. I mean, that's your I mean, not Brandon Miller, but I mean that's not you don't have to have the pressure with a guy like this with Cam. I mean, Cam coming in, it makes it just so much easier. I think it's being drafted this late,
Thompson,
no
right?
pressure.
Yeah, they got Amin Thompson.
Amin Thompson. I'm thinking Amin, but I said Cam. But I mean, Cam now going there, it fits. They're trying to change. They got size. They got toughness. I'm a huge fan of the kid. I think he's going to come in with a chip on his shoulder. He slipped in the draft. I mean, 20 is nothing to be disappointed about. And good. And he's going to be able to play.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, he's going to get minutes right away. And
He's
my
gonna be a
take on
player.
him, Tio, you want to know why I'm so high on Cam Whitmore is that I think that he has the physical tools to one day be able to be capable of playing small ball 5 in the NBA. Right. I think there's going to be times when you can use him in those lineups. I think he is someone that can legitimately, you could have him put that versatile tag on him. He could be a guy that can guard 2 through 4 in an ideal world. I think there are times you could use him as a small ball 5. I think that the shooting will come around. I'm buying the shooting long term with him. I am. And I think that I think he's going to end up being a guy that can be a go-to scorer.
Yeah. An incredible athlete too.
Yeah. And a terrific athlete. And I think he's the best thing about freshmen is they become sophomores, right? And he is a guy that has not even turned 19 years old yet. So I think the upside is incredible. Obviously, this question's about the health stuff, but I'm all in on Cam Whitmore. I think he's going to be a fantastic player in the NBA.
And the fact that it's health stuff tells me it's something lower body, has something to do with his wheels. Like, is it his knees? Is it his hips? Is it his ankles? Like, that would be my biggest question. Like, is it a long-term situation or is it the way the guy plays? Like, this is a big-time athlete. This is a lot of guy. This is like the fact that they got him on 20. This is a home run, no pressure pick for Houston. And quite frankly, you know, I probably shouldn't say this, but like, I'm not a fan of Porter. I think he does more damage than he does good. And now that you have him and Jalen Green together, and Amen Thompson's kind of this guy who could facilitate, I really like those guys together along with Jabari Smith, who they picked last year. There's a lot to like in Houston, but kind of along the lines of what Randolph and John, our dearly departed John Henson, said earlier, like they need a veteran in that locker room to help these guys.
Mm-hmm.
Got to get one. You got to get a veteran presence.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's the contrast between Cam Whitmore's interview right now and the look on his face. Like, Cam looks like somebody just ran over his dog, whereas Jaime Jaquez was on there like he was having the best night of his life. Like, you have two choices here, right, RC? If you're Cam Whitmore, you can let this be the thing that defines you, or you could use this to be the thing that motivates you, right?
But they also said that's somewhat part of his personality. You know, I think there's some disappointment here, but I think, you know, it's just a relief thing with him as well. I mean, I think pretty sure it's just a level of relief. And again, the way he played and coming out of that program and the toughness and everything else he shows, he's just going to be in an ideal situation for him to come in there. If he comes in there and compete, he'll take some minutes away because they're not talented enough. As bad as they were, you come in there and compete, there's minutes for you.
Yep.
All right. So let's reset the draft here.
Oh, newly paid Dan Hurley on television.
Yeah, he is. Got it. Look,
cha-ching, cha-ching.
We gotta have a conversation with Andrea. He just won. He just got a $31.5 million contract extension, and he looks like he's wearing a suit that's off the rack from Men's Warehouse.
I don't know how they do it, just because they're operating in a deficit, Rob. Like, I don't know.
Look,
Rob. Hey, so listen to this, RC.
It's even more of a. Can I reset the draft and then you can go on your Hurley back?
Go
ahead. Go, you know what? Go ahead. I'm out.
Hey, so he's like, Rob's like, oh, yeah, they're probably going to the Big 12. They need the money. They're broke. And next thing you know, like the following week, Dan Hurley gets an extra $32 million in his bank account. I wonder what the first thing Andrea Hurley is going to buy is.
Hey, Rob must have wrote a check. Rob probably wrote a check for it. He's a big UConn.
I was the donor.
Rob wrote the check. Rob wrote the check. Is that what you said?
Rob wrote the check.
No, you know what it was?
He better be splitting up.
I was texting with the athletic director, David Benedict. You know how they had $2 beer night when Providence came to town last year, the home game? Well, what they did was they just bumped that up to $4 beer night, and that covered up about 75% of the early salary. All right, so let's reset here. Pick 16 to the Utah Jazz was Keontae George. 17, it was RC's favorite pick of the night, Jalen Hood-Schifino going to the Lakers. 18, my favorite pick of the night, Jaime Jaquez going to the Heat. 19, Tio's favorite pick of the night, AirPods going to the Golden State Warriors. And pick 20 was was Cam Whitmore going to the Houston Rockets. And now we have back-to-back picks for the Brooklyn Nets BKNY. First one is in. It is Noah Clowney from Alabama.
Clowney.
Love this dude. T.O., I know you love him too. Break him down.
He's a good player. Long, athletic, bouncy. I thought his player comparison was somebody that already plays for the Nets. And that was Nick Claxton. Just both really long-limbed guys that would be able to alter shots. And Clowney's going to be able to put on some weight. He also has the ability to knock down shots, a true stretch 4, potential 5, depending on which team the Brooklyn Nets are playing. He's got a lot of upside. This is an upside pick without a doubt, but a lot of defensive upside on top of that.
RC?
I like it. I mean, I like the pick. I mean, he like Teal just said, he's going to play more of a stretch big. I mean, they've shown with Nicholas Claxton. I don't know if he's up for a payday yet. And, you know, this was a team that lacked depth. I mean, they're in transition. So, you know, this is a unique draft in some aspect. Usually this late in the draft with these numbers, you're usually involved in a playoff team. Brooklyn ain't going anywhere. Mm-hmm. And so if you're a young guy, you're getting drafted, this might be an ideal spot to be able to find some playing time. Whereas, you know, usually you're talking the late year, you start getting into the early 20s. You're talking about, you know, teams that's probably second round draft pick team. I mean, second round NBA playoff teams.
No, you're looking at guys that are going to do well after, you know, a couple of years on two ways.
Yeah, sitting there,
really
G League, automatically going G League. I don't know. Usually some of these guys, as we get further down, you know, you're thinking G League. I think in this case, you know, you can be a rotational guy or get some playing time in Brooklyn.
Yeah, so I think the thing that I really like about Noah Clowney is what he can be in 3 years. Like if you're drafting Clowney here, you're not drafting Clowney to be someone that's going to step in and play right away. Like, one, he hasn't turned 19 years old yet. Like, he's one of the youngest people in this draft. Two, he's incredibly raw, but you can see the potential there. He shot 29% from 3. T.O., you go watch his shot. Stroke looks pretty good.
Yeah,
right.
It's not broken.
Yep, he is a guy.
I've seen that shot. I've seen that shot in person. Like it's
not bad.
He could turn into a good shooter by the time it's all said and done.
He is a guy that could space the floor as a shooter. He's also a very good athlete. Can space the floor as a lob threat at the rim. He is a guy that is a weak side shot blocker. Is somebody that can protect the rim. He's 6'10". He's got a 7'3" wingspan. He could jump. He's also someone where if you go watch the Alabama film, like he can switch out on the guards. He can move his feet. Now he'll get blown by once in a while. He still hasn't quite figured out exactly how to be able to like sit in a stance and defend, but there's flashes there. You can see it. And you can say this dude is 18 years old. And when he figures it out, he will be like the quintessential 3-and-D floor spacing, do it all kind of a, you know, your fifth option offensively, but a guy that could average 12 points, 6 boards, a couple blocks, make a couple threes. I love it. I love Noah Clowney. I think he's such good value in this range if you're willing to wait like 2 to 3 years for him.
The upside is high.
Upside is high. From right up the road from where the Field of 68 had their first game. We had it in Greenville. He's from Spartanburg, which is 15 minutes away. So
hey, look, that's another thing that I really like about him. Like I don't want to make it sound like I'm slandering local high school coaches, but he's not one of these. Like he wasn't a top 100 prospect, right? Like he was I think he was 108 on 24/7. Like he wasn't a surefire one and done, right?
No,
he was a guy that went to his local high school that didn't go to one of these the like IMG or Montverde or whatever it is, right? Like he's a guy that is gonna like he's almost a blank canvas. I think is the best way to phrase it, right?
Played alongside.
I think he's going to be a G League guy to start, and I think he's going to be a G League guy. You know, take some time, invest in his body as he fills out. I think he's one of those guys. He's what you're looking for this late in the draft. A guy that has everybody wants a gym, but he's a guy that tremendous upside.
Mm-hmm. Played alongside PJ Hall.
Did he?
Yep.
PJ Hall's like 24. He's 18. How is that possible?
He was a freshman on that team. PJ was a senior.
So did he really play alongside him, or were they just kind of like
they were in the same uniform? I don't know if that counts or not.
How many times did he reclass? How old is PJ Hall now?
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Like shit.
It all somehow whenever you're here, like everyone makes fun of me for talking about UConn. Somehow whenever we're on here, I don't think there's been a show that like in the last 2 years where T.O. has not mentioned PJ Hall somehow.
I think PJ is a good player.
And look, I'm just over here. I'm just glad that he's still alive after that dunk from Jalen Johnson. He survived that.
hey, take it easy. Jordan Hawkins is top 10 player in freaking NBA already.
Dribble handoff jumpers, T.O.
Yeah.
He's
He's
man.
top
He's
10 player in the world in dribble handoff jumpers, but he was picked 14th in the draft.
Yeah, he's quite literally the best shooter in the NBA as of this very moment. All right, here's what I want to ask you guys about. So, I think one of the really interesting things about where college basketball is right now is that the household names they stick around because you make more money as a big man in college than you do as a big man in the NBA. I'm thinking of guys like Trace Jackson Davis. I'm thinking of guys like Oscar Tshiebwe. Hunter Dickinson is not in this draft, but I'm thinking of guys like him. Armando Bacot is not in this draft. I'm thinking of guys like him. Adama Sanogo, I'm thinking of guys like him. Where do you see those guys going here? T.O., we'll go to you first. RC, you answer to. Like, how do you see them transitioning to the NBA level?
My only thing is there's always teams that are going to put stock into statistical analysis. Like the fact that she rebounds so well, there's going to be a team that values that. Just because the NBA is so fast and how they play and it's so much moving space and moving parts, like you have to be able to cover a lot of ground really quickly. And you also have to be able to at least contest 3-point shots. Tshiebwe couldn't guard Ole Miss. How's it going to be able to guard NBA guards, right? Like it's going to be tough to, for him to adjust. And quite frankly, it's going to be tough for a lot of those guys to adjust. That's kind of where the issue is more than anything, just how spaced out the NBA is. And are those guys going to be able to stay in front of anybody?
No.
I think Trace will.
The answer is no.
I think the best chance of those three is Trace Jackson Davis. I think he has the best chance of doing it, but he laterally is not the quickest big of those guys. And the Sanogo situation to me is just tough. I know they won a national championship and he was the Final Four MVP. We were all there. We saw it. But for a young man, his story, and we all know his story and where he comes from and the things that he was doing. He had 2 years of eligibility left. Let's be honest. How many millions did his decision to stay in the draft just cost him? And I'm not blaming anybody. There's nothing wrong. I'm all supporting everybody, chasing their dreams. But let's be honest. If he's making at least, I'll be kind. He's getting at least $1 million, I'd say, right? So 2 years, it's $2 million. He's not getting that. That's my first thing. And then where he sticks in the NBA, I don't know. He's an undersized big. I thought his value was in college. I know everybody wants to do it. I just don't know what system he fits. I mean, he's probably the better shooter of those three with Oscar Tshiebwe facing up. But he knocked down a couple to the Final Four, but nobody's paying him to knock down and make shots. And so I think it's going to be tough for all three of those guys to lock down a roster. But probably Trace Jackson Davis may have the best opportunity because I think they're all limited on the offensive end. And I don't think any of them are elite defenders.
Yeah, I think Trace absolutely has the best chance. And I would not be that surprised to see him end up being a late first round pick here, early second round pick. I don't think he's that far off a guy like what Bam Adebayo is. I think what's interesting when you watch them both play is like Bam's ball handling, the fact that
Bam's got shape.
Stop.
Yeah. And I think Trace has got a little bit of that. And like I don't think that he's going to be that same level, but I think it's something where he can be a poor man's version of that. Right.
He's not the athlete. I think Bam is an elite athlete.
I agree with that. Yeah.
I think he's the best. I think Bam is the most versatile defender in the freaking NBA. So we're talking about guys that can't guard. I think no one in the league can guard 1 through 5 at the level Bam Adebayo guards. I don't think either of these guys, none of these guys are in that realm. The ball handling, defensive ability, passing, none of that.
I think Trace has the passing. I think he has the passing. I think he has the ball handling ability.
And what I mean, I think he left-handed he does. He's a left-hand bandit. I don't think anything going right. what guys like this should hope
what
for,
lefties go right? No lefties go right. Lefties just go left and they get wherever they want to go. That's what lefties do, RC.
but that ain't gonna happen at that level as much. I'll say this: what guys like those three guys got to hope for is we see the domination of a guy Joker's size. If they were bigger, it could give a little bit resistance from a physical standpoint of Joker. Then guys on the rosters will want to start drafting bodies like theirs.
Yep.
Speaking of bodies, Dariq Whitehead. This is a good
grown
value
man.
pick.
Grown man.
I was about to say Dariq Whitehead, 22nd pick. He's also going to the Nets. I think this is great value if he gets healthy. Because what people forget, this dude was a top 10 prospect out of high school. I think
number two,
right? Number 2.
Yeah.
Number 2. That doesn't include Scoot Henderson, doesn't include the Thompson twins. So like he's more of like a top 5 guy in a normal year, but he was number 2 in terms of who went to college coming out of high school. He's had 2 foot surgeries. Didn't he roll an ankle? I think he dealt with an illness during the season. Like he's been banged up. He had a really rough year, but if he can get healthy, but look, you two are ACC guys. I'm seeing the floor. Go ahead. Let's go. What do you think?
I don't think we ever saw the best of him.
Yeah, Tio, I'm with you. I think he's the least known prospect in this draft. We don't know what we're getting. Everybody else, there's more tape. You've seen more. You just don't know what you're getting because by the end of the year, when he was healthy, that's one of the reasons I think he and Lively were the reasons we were like, hey, man, he's the number 1, number 2 pick in high school. They're coming around. He gave them another, his size, playmaking ability is why we were picking Duke to go to the Final Four.
Mm-hmm.
And now that he's finally, he had another setback, had another surgery. So again, we don't know what they're getting. But the upside of his highs, of what his potential can be, body physically coming through the door. I mean, he could be, I think, a playmaking guy and a 3-and-D guy in the next level.
Tio?
Yeah, this is an interesting one. I mean, he was Gatorade National Player of the Year in high school, Naismith National Player of the Year in high school. It's tough because he also played on one of the most loaded high school teams in the history of basketball whenever he was at Montverde. That was the Scotty Barnes, Dariq Whitehead, all these guys. And he's very talented. He has the NBA body, 6'7", 200 pounds. Is he going to be able to get healthy? And when he does get healthy, he exhibited everything that you wanted to see in an NBA athlete when he was healthy, playing at the Peach Jam. What was it, 2 years ago? Mm-hmm. He has all the athletic measurements that one would need in order to have success there. Now, his ability to shoot the ball, he shot the ball well from 3 at Duke. I thought he had hard hands when I watched him play. I thought, he's going to have to be a little bit more of a playmaker, shot creator. But that being said, he had to fall into this role of just another guy at Duke, and he actually played well within that role despite never really getting his footing. And the upside of this pick at, 22? You have to feel good if you're a Brooklyn Nets fan.
Yeah, what people saw of him last year was a guy that was basically a 3-point shooter and not much else. And I think what we saw from him—
That's wrong. That's what they saw, but that's wrong.
Yeah, that's what you saw. If you just watched Dariq Whitehead last year, he was a 3-point shooter and nothing else. And correct me if I'm wrong, both of you guys. What I saw of Dariq Whitehead before he got to college was a guy that was like 6'7", 200 whatever pounds, length, switchable, defender, guy that played off the bounce, had some real shit to him. Like the question I had when he got to Duke was like, he could do everything else, but like, are we buying the jump shot? So that's why
it was the one thing we were worried about was shooting, and that's what he did. Everything else we were sure about. We knew he could do everything else.
That's why the value is so good here.
Yes, it's all about like whether or not he can stay healthy, and who knows? Foot injuries on 6'7" dudes are not the easiest thing in the world. When you are 19, you've already had 2 surgeries on the same injury. Not a great sign, but it's a 22nd pick. Like, what's the opportunity cost here? The opportunity cost is Chris Murray, who just went 23rd to the Portland Trailblazers, who is the younger brother of Keegan Murray, who is a guy that Tio shit all over. Absolutely crushed.
That's not true.
What do you make of Chris Murray, Tio?
A lot of the same things that I'd liked about Keegan Murray. I just feel like at 23, this is a good value guy. He's going to be able to knock down shots. And you know, the thing was he shot good percentages up until this season. His scoring numbers were much better this year, but his percentages went down. I think that had more to do with him being the main option and having to take more shots than he was potentially accustomed to. The biggest difference between Keegan and Chris is Keegan shot better percentages. That's the reason he went up so high. I think that Chris is going to be able to knock down shots. It's simple. It comes off his hand really smoothly. And he's going to be able to play alongside some guards that'll be able to create for him. And he's a lot like Keegan, just his percentages weren't as good.
RC?
Great pick. I worry about him as a defender. I think he'll come in as a size and be able to stretch and make shots. But I have my concerns about him as a defender at the next level. I didn't think he was as smooth of an athlete as his brother. I think his brother moved a little better than he did.
I would agree with that.
And hinted why he's, was drafted a little. Keegan was drafted a little higher than Chris. But you're getting size and ability to make shots. Mm-hmm. And as of right now, we were talking earlier, he's going to Portland and they're trying to piece shooting around, I guess, and keep Dame there. I still expecting I thought there'd be an announcement of a trade by now or shortly thereafter, to be quite honest. But if they're keeping the band together, then he's just another guy that stretches the floor a little bit. But I worry about him, defensively. And let's see what happens with them. I mean, with Portland in the offseason and free agents and things of that nature.
I think he's just the perfect role piece at the NBA level.
Same as his brother.
Yeah, same as his brother. I think he is a better rebounder. I think he's a better defender than what his brother will be. And I don't think that his brother is necessarily a great defender. I don't think anybody from Iowa is necessarily a great defender. That's not what they do in Iowa. But I really like him.
I like this next player too.
Yeah, and I was about to say the 24th pick. If there's one thing that the Kings have on their roster, it's a bunch of dudes that could get buckets. Right? They got a bunch of guys that can score. You know what they need? They need a dog. You know what they need? RC? They need someone that can get in there and lock people up. You know what they need? CO? They need dudes that are 6'7" with 7'1" wingspans, athletic as shit, and are going to get out there and play some defense and switch on you. That's why they are drafting Max Prosper. Olivier Maxence Prosper, one of my favorite players in college basketball this season, a guy who I am sad to see head to the NBA level, but I'm absolutely thrilled for him that he is a first-round pick. He's going to the Kings. RC, what do you make of we saw him lock down the best shooter in the NBA. Well, he's going.
Saw him embrace it. I was shocked. I mean, he embraced it, and he said he getting draft traded, getting to his rights to the Mavericks.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no, we can say he's going to Dallas. Which we talked about needing defense, but we saw him in the Big East tournament. He chose the best offensive player and wanted to guard him. And again, I think it goes a long way. Guys that accept that role, as hard as it is, everybody needs wing. If you're going to make it and survive, or if you're playing on a team, you want to stick to a roster, be a wing defender, and he's accepted it. He doesn't get thrown in it. We watched this guy say, "I want the best wing or the best player on the other team," and that's what you see here getting drafted. It's more of a need. It's a need and a fit. But if you have a defensive mentality, teams will find a place for you.
Yep, he is also the first guy, T.O., to go off the board that we did not do a draft profile for. First guy.
Really?
Only guy we've drafted so far we haven't gotten a draft profile up on.
I think he had a promise coming out of the combine. He played well the first day of the combine and then just shut everything down. So I think they promised him early. Here's the thing. A lot of guys get touted as good defensive players when their defensive stats are good. Omax isn't that. He is a quality defender because he stays in front. And I think he knew he was going to Sacramento because he's wearing a purple and black suit.
Mm-hmm.
He had a promise coming out of the combine.
Hey,
so,
T.O.,
good for him.
What happened? Your Tigers couldn't keep him, dude?
Don't.
I'm sorry. I'm leaving.
Wild.
Look, hey, there's your boy Shaka. There's your boy Shaka. He doesn't have on a purple suit, so I'm a little worried.
Oh man.
Let me ask you this about his fit with Dallas, right? Because he's going to end up in Dallas, which is that right, Dagan?
to Dallas for Rashawn Holmes, and yeah, that's what. Listen, I'm trying to get it all together over here. I'm trying to pick it up.
So
Yeah.
he wore the purple and black for the Kings because he's drafted by the Kings. So his suit matches the hat that he has on right now, and he's getting traded to Dallas. But I'll tell you what,
didn't Lively get put to Dallas?
Yes.
Derek Lively's
Derek
going to
Lively's
Dallas
also
too. So they're clearing some space so Lively can get some pick is what's happening.
Yeah, and they've also been able to they've added 2 guys that can guard, right? That's the one thing
they're trying to get some defensive. Yeah, they got to get some.
That's a good point.
They got defense.
I did lie. I lied. Rashawn Holmes is going to Dallas with Omax Prosper. So I don't know what the Kings got in return. But yes, there you go.
So this is why we need a new producer. Trevor, tap in.
Relax.
No, this is the funniest part about the draft to me. Like
it's so hard to keep up with.
I hate it, but I kind of love the fact that like it's just so like here's the perfect example. We all know the Grizzlies are on the clock right now, right? And we all know that this is Boston's pick. Like, look, his dad is wearing a purple and black shirt right now. He's got a purple shirt underneath the black suit. Olivia Max's Prosper's got a purple suit with a black shirt underneath. He's wearing the Kings hat. Everybody knows that he's going to the Mavericks right now. Do you think he knows?
No way he knows.
Just like
he's already bought real estate.
I've got
Rob, I'm gonna tell you this is weird.
He's already bought real estate in Napa Valley.
For a guy that was traded.
All those guys live there anyway.
I was traded on the draft day. I knew before. So I wish they would do a better job of letting the kids know before they get on stage to let them know what team they're going to. Like to have him here thinking he's going to Sacramento. Excuse me. And then as soon as he leaves the area, he's going to Dallas.
You know, I just hate that we have to go through this whole charade of like they got to wear the wrong hats. And I guess I understand why you have to do that because you can't technically make that trade until free agency, right? You can't technically do this until a certain date, but it's so silly to me. We're the only people that it feels like aren't doing this. So like this is supposed to be a show, right? Like the whole point of the draft is putting together a product that people are watching. It's a show. It's not necessarily just the draft. Like we don't need this whole pomp and circumstance. We don't need a broadcast. You don't need that stage. You don't need Adam Silver walking out here reading shit off a card, right? Like this is a show. Oh, great. Who was it?
So Marcus Sasser was picked by Memphis, who's going to Boston, who's now going to Detroit for number 31.
Well, okay. Well, look, you know what? I love that Marcus Sasser pick.
I don't even know which way's up.
I love Marcus Sasser. I think Marcus Sasser is a fantastic pick here. I think he makes a lot of sense with Detroit because of the way that he can shoot and the way that he can guard. And if you are Detroit and you have some bigger guards and some bigger initiators when in Cade Cunningham and in a guy like Jaden Ivey, I think bringing in a smaller player that can be your floor spacer, you're not going to get hurt because you can have him guard point guards, right?
A good second unit spurtable guy.
Spursy. Are you still trying to figure out who's going to where?
You called him a spurtable guy?
Spurtable guy. Spurtable.
That Prosper's pick surprises me.
Really?
Yeah.
What do you think about Marcus Sasser going to Detroit?
That's where we're at right now, RC.
Yeah,
he's still hung up on Omax. He's trying to figure out where Omax is right now. Omax got traded to Oklahoma City. He's going to Dallas, and there's a Rashawn Holmes that's going on. I think Vegas is starting to weigh on you right now. Is that what it is?
Oh, I'm ready to get up. No, I have been here too long. Ain't no doubt about that. I'm shocked he went this early. I thought he would have been a second round pick because of his size, and he's more an off the ball guard. I don't see him as a point guard in the NBA. I do think he's a guy that can score and can shoot. But first round pick.
Yeah, especially with what's valued so much in today's game.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm just surprised he's gone this early because he's at the next level. He has to be a point guard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing about putting him next to Cade Cunningham is that Cade will be your
primary decision maker, no doubt.
Your point guard, right? So you could take someone that's a little bit smaller, He's going to guard. He's going to be a pain in the ass at the point of attack. He can shoot it. He can fight through screens. I want to roll through real quick some of the best guys that are left available. I don't think there's anybody that has necessarily slid. But Leonard Miller, G League Ignite program, is still on the board. We have Bryce Sensabaugh from Ohio State. Some people thought he was going to be a top 20 pick. He is still on the board. Nick Smith Jr. from Arkansas, a player that was a top 5 prospect coming into college that dealt with some injury stuff, that dealt with a whole bunch of shenanigans going on, got benched because of his defense by the end of the season at different times. He is still on the board. Your boy, Colby Jones, is still on the board. Julian Phillips, still on the board. G.G. Jackson, still on the board. I think that this draft, because of NIL, it's a little bit weaker once you get to the mid to late second round. But to me, there's still some guys here that are going to be impact players in the NBA.
Yeah, I agree with that. And now you're looking for potential role guys.
Yep.
At this point in the draft, especially since Memphis is pretty deep with young talented guys. Indiana could go another defensive player, and then Charlotte. I'm naming off these teams as if I know who the hell's picking and who's not picking and what team they're picking for. But at this point of the draft, I do think there's some value from now until about 45 with guys that can really help teams win on a given night, not an every night type of deal, but on a given night.
RC, what do you think?
I think it just, I'm curious as to, it's massive to see where kids are going, right? I mean, we talked about the Memphis and the Boston trade. Those are 2 playoff teams. None of these kids are coming in really helping those teams so much. I think that you're looking for bench guys, depth, at the most, is why I've been so big on Kobe Jones. I'd like his size and his ability to guard and play off the ball and kind of fit in on a second unit of an NBA roster right now. But there's a big difference in going here and then in 2 more picks you got Charlotte coming up again, where there isn't as much talent, where there is an opportunity possibly to play, as opposed to going to Boston. So I like Marcus. I think he's a shooter defender, but let's see. I'm curious to see what the rest of these guys, the guys that we're talking about that I like the most. I told you I'm a big Kobe Jones fan. I just think at this point, if I want to look at one of these guys, I think I get more out of what he brings day one, as opposed to, because some of these guys are going to find out, nobody's waiting around. That's the tough part about picks, like the Noah Clowney pick. We talked about 2 or 3 years. Coaches ain't got 2 or 3 years to wait.
Mm-hmm.
I need you coming through the door giving me something right now. So if I'm one of these teams, I mean, Rick Carlisle is an NBA champion coach, and he wants guys to come in and help him right away. He don't want to sit and wait 3 or 4 more years for somebody to show up.
Yep. All right. So let's real quick. Let me reset what's kind of happened here in the last couple of picks. At 21, we had Noah Clowney going to the Nets. At 22, Dariq Whitehead went to the Nets. 23, Chris Murray went to the Trailblazers. At 24, Omax Prosper, drafted by the Kings. He's being sent to the Mavericks. And at 25, we had the Grizzlies drafting Marcus Sasser, who traded him to the Boston Celtics, who then traded him to the Detroit Pistons for pick 31 and a couple of future picks. Before we get into what's happening in the last 5 picks of the first round, I do want to ask you guys about what happened with the Wizards and the Grizzlies and the Celtics and the Kristaps Porzingis trade. So to recap, the Wizards get Tyus Jones, Dalano Gallinari, Mike Muscala, and the number 35 pick. The Grizzlies get Marcus Smart, and the Celtics get Kristaps Porzingis, the number 25 pick they just moved, and a future first round pick from the Warriors in 2024. Effectively, what it is basically Marcus Smart for Kristaps Porzingis if you are the Celtics. How do you feel about that if you're Boston? RC.
I love it. I think they had to do something. And getting Kristaps Porzingis as a third scoring option that this team poorly needed. All right. And then now you got a big that can stretch the floor, that now you're dictating switching, you're dictating matchups. Whereas with their lineups and their big, teams were living with saying, hey, Al Horford, we're going to live with it whether you can make shots. Williams wasn't a perimeter. You already in drop coverage. You can't do that with Porzingis. Your ass got to switch that and or just rotate. And really, it's going to be switching. So now that's going to free up Tatum and Brown, because when they come off that dribble handoff or any ball screen with him, you just got to switch it because he shoots it too well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like the fit. And Al Horford's getting a little long in the tooth. And as well as he plays in the playoffs, I mean, Al's 3-4 years older than me. So you add some length there, you add some weak side shot blocking. That's possible. I think Porzingis is a good player. I thought maybe, people forgot about him when he was with the Wizards because they're never on national television. Nobody ever really watches the Wizards. He's a good player. He's not a second option, but I think he's at his best as a third. And this to me says, Marcus Smart, it was time for him to move on. And guys, I don't know what it was about the Celtics during the playoffs, but Marcus Smart always seemed to be the guy that ended up with the shot. Like, you have all that talent, and Marcus Smart is your choice to get that shot. So you take him out of the equation, you add some shooting, you add size, some weak side help, shot blocking ability. I think it's a good pickup for them. I think Tyus Jones is an underrated pickup for Washington, though. I think he's a really good player.
Yeah, but they just suck, and he's going somewhere now. If I'm
suck.
another team, I try to get him as a backup point guard. I think he's a really, really good point guard, but he's going to a team that there's nobody to pass to. So how much of his game?
You don't have to worry about it. Just get it up to Jordan Poole. He's going to shoot it.
Yeah, that's true. He may not get it. That'll be the concern with him. He'd be lucky if he could get the ball.
Jordan Poole is still the inbounds.
How I will say this, assuming that
he's going to shoot it.
He said he's still the inbound.
Dude, I played with Patty Mills, and Patty Mills turned into a great player, right? I played with him at Eurocamp. I don't think Patty Mills passed the ball one time the entire week, and he didn't even want to throw it in bounds.
Hey,
we had to force him to throw the ball in bounds. He almost got a 5 count. There's nobody pressing. He just didn't want to pass it. Like, it was that bad. Good for him. This is a good pick for Indiana. This kid can play.
Yeah, well, Ben Shepherd, 26 to Indiana. I'm going to ask you about him in 1 second. I do just want to say, I don't know if there is a better fit when it comes to toughness, craziness, insanity. Wanted to pick fights, wanted to flop, wanted to act ridiculous than Marcus Smart going to the Grizzlies. It makes so much sense.
It's a nonsense fiesta.
Yeah, you lose Dylan Brooks, who was a little bit out of his mind, couldn't really shoot it as well as he thought he could, played a little bit of defense, maybe not as well as he thought he could, and talked too much shit to LeBron in the media. And you add him with a guy in Marcus Smart who does a lot of those same things, but just does it a little bit better, right?
You need his leadership in that locker room. With so much going on with Ja, you need that leadership guy. You need a stand-up guy like Marcus Smart in that locker room now to help that team. If they want to turn the corner, you're adding him. Now they got 2 defensive player of the year caliber guys, and what they're going to need. And obviously, Ja, things turn around for Ja to get themselves going. If they want to come out of the West, the West is loaded. There's no let up.
Yep. All right. So pick 26, Ben Shepherd, Belmont, heading to the Indiana Pacers, unless a trade has happened that I wasn't paying attention to. T.O., you said he's a hell of a player. Why do you say that?
Just a two-way guy. Guy who can really shoot the ball, knows how to play, cerebral guy. I think, you pick him up at 26, you get a guy who could give you some minutes. Not a super explosive guy, a good enough athlete, pretty good laterally, solid length. I had the opportunity it was Furman Belmont at the beginning of the season. It was very good. And he just does a lot of winning stuff, and he makes some tough shots. This is a guy, if he's not playing at Belmont, he could certainly fit at a higher level. Obviously, he's in the first round, and a lot of the things that he does translates. And one thing he does is he stays within himself. He doesn't extend too far out. Does he make a couple of tough shots? Sure, but he always found ways to make it easy on himself. And that's something that RC, you'll agree to this. Rob, you'll agree to this. Like, the really good players keep the simple things simple. He's one of those guys.
I think he's a G League guy because of, unless they make a move. You're talking about a team that has guys at his spot. I think it's going to be tough for him to get out there. The team just drafted Ben Mathurin a year ago. We talked about Halliburton there, Tyrese being there, and then Buddy's Hurd still there, right?
Huh?
Isn't Buddy Hurd still there?
Buddy Hield?
But he from
Yeah.
Okay. I thought he's gonna be tough to crack the lineup. I think he's gonna be a G League guy.
I do think that this guy, Ben Shepherd, could be like he could be a longtime pro because he does all the little things. And
42% shooter, athlete, 6'5". Second first round pick in the last 5 years for Belmont University. Dylan Windler was the pick after they won a game in the NCAA tournament in 2019. They beat Maryland. I remember that.
And they also have the kid that played for the Wizards this year, who was undrafted, ended up making the squad. Turned out to be a good little player.
All right. So number 27, we have Nick Smith Jr. is finally going off the board to the Charlotte Hornets, who are adding Nick Smith to LaMelo Ball and Brandon Miller. What do you guys make of this? Nick Smith, a guy, I'll bet on his upside. He was the number 3 recruit in 2022 for a reason, right?
Yeah, I mean, he lit the Peach Jam up. I do think he's limited athletically. He does have pretty broad shoulders, but he's got really narrow hips, and it's not like he's uber flexible in his legs to where he can get the spots. But you know what? I thought he was a bit overvalued coming out of high school. I thought he played really well at the Peach Jam, and it kind of carried him to that top 5 ranking. He's very talented, and he can score. He has an ability to pass the ball and see the second line of defense. It's just, can he do it at the level that a lot of people think?
You know what's cool about this? Brandon Miller and Nick Smith Jr. at the Peach Jam.
We're on the same age team.
Played together. Now they will be playing together. Not getting shots while they watch LaMelo Ball shoot up 36 footers, right?
But the roles will be reversed because at Peach Jam, Nick Smith was the dude shooting every shot, and Brandon Miller was just kind of having to find a way to fit in. Not going to be the case in Summer League. But I will say this: Nick Smith is liable to go for 50 at the Summer League.
He won't get enough shots.
I don't know. Brandon Miller might play the first 2 games, be like, I'm good. And then you'll see something happen on like that Friday, and Nick Smith just go bonkers.
Yeah. So I'm torn on this, right? Like I think if you're drafting at 27 and you're getting a guy that was a number 3 recruit in his class, and you're getting a guy
value.
That was as good as he was at Peach Jam and at all these other levels, I think that it's a risk worth taking because, like, what are you passing up? There's no opportunity cost there, right? But I do think that he is a guy where if you are not athletic enough to be the number one guy, the go-to guy, right? And you weigh 180 pounds and you got benched when you were at Arkansas because you didn't play defense, that's a concern. So here's my question. Are some of those issues a result of that lingering knee injury, the stuff where he couldn't get he couldn't get those practice reps, he couldn't get the chance to kind of figure out what they were doing defensively at the start of the season, or is this just kind of who he is as a player? Are you concerned about that, RC?
I'm concerned about him because I worry about his ability to make shots. I think he's a volume shooter as a quality shooter. So that would be the concern. And he's going to a team. I mean, he's going to a good situation in the sense. I mean, you're talking about a guy that's going somewhere where he's not gonna dominate the ball. I mean, he has good size, but that's
can he do that? Can he be a player that's effective if he's not dominating the ball?
That's the concern. I think this is the potential to see what this kid can turn out to be. I worry about him because I think he's a high volume guy. I don't know if he can be as efficient as he needs to be. He'll need time. He'll be in a G League trying to figure that out. I don't think he can. I don't think when the season starts midway through the first half, he may be on a roster. I don't think he'll be there second half of the season. I think he just needs reps. He needs to be more efficient. And you don't struggle in college and then get to the NBA and just figure that shit out. It just doesn't work like that.
What I will say is he's really skilled.
Yes, he is good.
He's the ball really, really skilled.
Yep. All right. So the number 28 pick is in. The Utah Jazz are selecting Bryce Sensabaugh, who is a guy at 6'6", about 240, big, strong, physical, one of the most efficient shooters in this year's draft class. Also a guy, not really someone that is all that interested on the defensive end of the floor. T.O., what do you make of Bryce Sensabaugh?
You know what? I thought he had a good year considering what he was coming from. When he played for, what was it? It wasn't Nike Team Florida. It was somebody else. It was Each One Teach One, and he was a guy that was a little overweight. He changed his body up when he got to Ohio State, and he is what he is. He's a guy who could knock down shots quick, fast, and in a hurry. He is going to have to guard at the NBA level. That much is obvious. But this is a guy that could average 30 points a game in the G League and, catch some playing time towards the end of the year. Second unit score is something that's certainly within the realm of possibility.
RC?
Load, man, in transition. That guy gets his shoulders past you. I mean, he's a load. I like the draft so far, man, of the Jazz picks. I mean, getting Keontae and getting Sensabaugh. I like those two guys. I mean, and particularly where they drafted them both. You got size, you got guys physically ready to come in and compete. And again, I mean, he's going to get an opportunity. He's going to a team that's not very good. The team is hitting the reset button. So, credit to these guys. You get value, and right now it's more about where you get drafted as opposed to I like him going to Utah more than I like Nick Smith going to Charlotte.
Yeah, I really like him as a player. I'm buying all of the one-on-one stuff. I'm buying his ability to kind of create his own.
Yes.
I don't know if he'll be able to do the bully ball stuff as much as he did in college at the next level. But I do think that given his physique and his athleticism, he can be taught to be a good defender, right? Like he kind of looks like a guy that got lost on his way to football practice and ended up in a basketball gym, right? Like he's one of those dudes. So I think with a little bit of coaching and a little bit of love at that level, he'll be able to figure it out on that end. 29th pick is in. The reigning NBA champions have made their first of two selections in the top 32 picks. Number 29 pick. I don't know if you've seen this yet, RC. Julian Strawther from Gonzaga is headed to Denver. Do you like it?
Man, they're good at getting guys that could help them right now, huh?
Ain't that the truth?
Man, like last year they got Christian Brown. Excuse me, I said Braun. I meant Brown. Who really helped them in their title run. Strawther could do the same thing. I mean, he could have some minutes where he could help that team win. Another big switchable dude on a team full of huge switchable dudes.
Team. Yeah.
Yep. So
good
fit for him.
That team has been built great. We know where it starts, and they got size and shooting. Mm-hmm. And this pick just fits right in. It's just right now the best team in the NBA, and no pressures to add anyone else. But then you add another guy that can make shots.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised that Strawther went this early. I don't think I was expecting him to be a first round pick in this year's draft. I do think that he is someone that makes a lot of sense as a role player at the next level, right? Like he can shoot it. He's 6'7". He's long. He's got stones. Like you remember the shot that he hit against UCLA to beat UCLA, and was that the Sweet 16 out in Las Vegas?
Yeah, the inbounder.
Yep.
There's Sweet 16. He trails the play and knocks it down. It was deep too. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's got some stones on him. I like him as a player. It's just getting him at 29. That's earlier than I thought he would go off the board. But you know what? Good for him, man. That is two WCC players that have been drafted in the first round of the NBA draft. And
hey, but Rob, my question would be, I think with those guys, and you're looking at a team like that, when you watch the Nuggets play, they value shooting. How many guys do you think left? Was it that much of a difference between, drafting Julian, drafting who? I mean, who else would they draft?
Yeah, I mean, there's shooters available, but it's one of those things where you only need one person to fall in love with them, right? You only need one team to fall in love with them. And when it comes down to it, like the only difference between getting picked with the 29th pick and like the 32nd pick, the other one that the Nuggets got from Indiana, is just what you're locked into paying guaranteed money. But those 32nd guys, like you're still probably going to get 3 or 4 years of guaranteed salary. Like that's what it is for the early 30s picks. The guys that are going to get, that are kind of been the last 8 or 9 picks, right? Who do you think out of that group has any all-star upside, like after Cam Whitmore, right? We all know what Cam Whitmore's ceiling can be. Is there any one of the last 8 or 9 picks that you think has a chance to be able to have the kind of career that would allow him to be an all-star maybe one day? You see
Derek Whitehead.
A healthy Derek Whitehead. That's where I was going.
Healthy Derek Whitehead. He's the one guy we just don't know when healthy, what's his upside going to be. Everyone else, I think we see limitations and concerns way down the road. Derek Whitehead, concerns we have with shooting the basketball, not physically. Physically, he's coming through the door day one ready to guard. Switch, guard, straight line drive, put him on the floor a little bit. And now that if he can shoot in the mid-30s from behind the line, you got yourself a hell of a player.
Yeah, I agree. I think if you look at that entire lot, I mean, Nick Smith was a guy that a lot of people would have picked. I feel like you could get good value with role guys here. I'm not necessarily sure. You have a potential all defensive player with the Omax Prosper. Marcus Sasser could be a good guy coming up for your second unit. Now's where you pick up value. I think if there is one guy, Derek Whitehead would be that guy, just simply because everything we worried about is something he proved. Now, can he get back to his old ways whenever he was in high school and we saw all these different dynamics of what he could do? Are those parts of his game going to shine through whenever he gets this level? And, conventional wisdom would say no, but a lot of times Duke guys, because they have to fit within a certain system, sometimes when they get to that next spot, even Kentucky guys as well, when they get to the NBA, you see a whole different side of them. I think Derek Whitehead could be that guy. And quite frankly, Noah Clowney might not have all-star potential, but kind of an all-defensive team kind of guy that could be a starter.
Is there anyone that has not been drafted yet that you think has that level of upside? T.O., you going to ride for your guy Julian here?
Yeah, you know what? The thing with Julian, I do think he's going to be a very good player. As far as all-star is concerned, I think – he's going to have to be a featured guy, and he's so wiry right now. He will eventually put on weight. Julian could be a quality player for a long time in the NBA. Another guy that people are looking at, I think Amari Bailey and G.G. Jackson, you can throw those two in there. Amari Bailey was also a top 5 guy in his class, was forced to play a slower tempo in college at UCLA. And now whenever that NBA game starts going up and down, the floor is a little wider. You might be able to see his athleticism at a higher level. So he could be that guy. G.G. Jackson played his way out of the lottery. So I'm curious to see, he has all that talent. Is he going to be able to put it together?
RC?
Guys that haven't been drafted yet?
Yeah.
You know what? I'd say a couple of guys. Your guy, Andre effing Jackson, because and listen, and not first round. Now, I'm not saying first round. I'm saying getting drafted because I think he knows what he is, and what he is translates to every team would want a guy like him. Is what I mean when I say that. There's not a team because of his size. He knows he's a defender. He's an elite athlete. I think you want a guy like that on your team. He's a guy you'd make a trade. Knows he's a Bruce Brown type of guy. Hey, I'm a play off you. I'm a cut. We saw his value in the finals. We see it all the time with Gary Payton at Golden State, and he's bigger than those guys. He's taller than those guys. I like a guy like him for situation. I'm just big on guys that know what they are, because a lot of times when you're a high volume offensive guy, those opportunities are just not there. You got to be incredibly efficient. The other guy I'd say is Isaiah Wong. As a guy somebody has coming off the bench that's just a bucket that just knows how to score, right? Like how many teams could use a guy with his size and play and shot making ability, off the bench? So those would be the two guys that I would think. And I think the other thing I say is at some point is someone going to draft Amani Bates and throw him in the G League and try to develop him.
Oh. Good luck with that. Here's the guy that here's the guy you mentioned my pick, G.G. Jackson.
Yeah.
Was the youngest Division I player in college basketball this past season. Turns 19 on December 17th.
G League.
I think if you go back and you watch what he can do in kind of isolation settings. He is a very, very good like one-on-one player. Like he can hit the step backs. He's got some range. He can play off the bounce. He's a little bit more athletic and bouncy than I realized he was.
He's a good athlete.
Yeah, he's a good player. He's a guy that can score. He should have been a high school senior this past season. What he isn't is someone that has a clue what to do defensively, has any desire to do anything defensively, and is someone that just doesn't really understand how to play in the framework of a team. Like I think I said this on our mock draft show, like he's a workout warrior, right? Like he is a guy that can do all of the stuff that he's repped out in the gym a million times. He can do all that stuff in games. He doesn't necessarily know how to translate being a basketball player and the stuff on film into being a guy that is effective within a team setting, right? Like he knows how to do the one-on-one stuff. He can't do the I'm part of a 5-on-5 situation stuff just quite yet. And I think that's stuff that can be taught to a guy that should have been a high school senior this past year. So I would bet on the upside when it comes to him. Last pick in the first round just happened. RC, we did this breakdown. You loved this dude. It is the second Kobe going in the first round. Kobe Brown from Missouri has been drafted by the Los Angeles Clippers. I really, really like this fit there. I really think that makes a lot of sense.
A grown-ass man. He's ready to come through day one. He's coming through day one ready to play, man. I'm a big fan of his. I think in the West, he was just the guy that was a difference maker for those guys. Why things turned around so quickly for out west with Missouri and those guys. So I'm happy for him. Love his size, love his ability to mix it up a little bit. Going to a group of guys now, I don't if they keep that roster together. I think there's going to be some change, but defensively, I'd be a little bit concerned about him defensively, and how much ability does he have to switch, and how many positions can he guard? He's a big guy, and he's not going to get a ton of touches with that group. But I like the fit. Great coaches out there, great environment. We'll see what happens with them if they keep everything again. There's been some rumors with PG getting traded or not, but I think with everything in hand, he's gone to an ideal team fit. I do worry about him on the defensive end of the floor.
T.O., what do you think of him?
A grown-ass man who's going to be able to play right away just because of his strength. Wingspan is for days. 7'1" wingspan, can step out and shoot it. He's so physically strong that he's going to be able to hold some post position. And I think while, there are some really good big men, he won't be able to go toe-to-toe from as far as height's concerned, but he'll be able to push them off their spots. So is he going to be a great NBA player? The answer is no. Could he be a solid guy? I think it's possible. And he could be a guy that I just thought he was a smart player. And he has to be, because while he's not necessarily a great run and jump athlete, he is a big, strong, physical dude that can function out on the perimeter as well. Solid player. He like you guys say, he's a grown-ass man.
Yeah, he knows what he is too. I think that's going to matter to help him. I mean, he knows how he needs to play, what his strengths are. He's he's an experienced guy. Good pickup for that late in the year. They didn't go for value. I think that going with the Clippers, they need to win now, and they need somebody that can step in the door. And that's what a lot of these guys. We talked about G.G. Jackson before. It's the unfortunate part is no one has time to wait on him. And I think that's what these guys, unfortunately, are about to figure out is not every team that has time, even the bad teams, they don't have time 2 or 3 years to wait to be good, and then when you're drafted, there's not a lot of capital. He's going into the second round. There ain't a lot of capital invested in you in the second round.
Yep. There's no risk. There's no.
No, you either figure it out or get your passport.
Yep. that's a great way to press it. All right. The way that the first round has come to an end, number 26 to Indiana was Ben Shepherd. Number 27 to Charlotte was Nick Smith Jr. The number 28 pick was Bryce Sensabaugh. He is heading to Utah. 29, the reigning champions drafted Julian Strawther from Gonzaga. And with the last pick of the first round, the LA Clippers added Kobe Brown. Kobe is headed back to LA. Love that fit. Love that Love the way that has worked out there. Listen, this has been a lot of fun breaking down the first round of the NBA draft. There's 30 more picks to be made. We'll have some stuff on that for you later next week. Until then, for Randolph Childress, for Terrence Oglesby, for the recently departed John Henson, and for the guys behind the scenes that get it all done, Dagan Hughes and Trevor Valise, who is still very mad at me. I'm sorry, Trevor. You know you're my guy. This has been fun. This has been the field.
Hold on.
What?
There's might be something happening with Damian Lillard.
It has to.
Yeah, I'll just let's give it to.
Yeah, Shams just said reporting on something with Damian Lillard. So that was the tweet that just went out. I love how you got that right at the very last second.
I know.
Anyone know what happened?
Sorry, Chill.
No, you're fine. I mean, we talked about it earlier. They had to.
What'd you call him? What'd you call him? You called him Chill?
Yeah.
Who's Chill?
RC Chill.
Who's this Chill guy that you're referring to?
Chill is what Daryl calls it.
Yeah.
All right. Our Trevor Valise right now is listening to what Shams Charania is saying on the stadium broadcast with Jeff Goodman, trying to figure out what the hell is going on right now. So hopefully it's something good. The 31st pick is in the meantime. We can at least go through and discuss this. It's James Najee.
Okay, so
31.
And they're sending two picks away. They already have Mark Williams.
Yes, Charlotte is taking him. He's like he's like 7'1", 7'10" wingspan, freak
like
athlete.
Zeus.
Yeah.
Has no game. He has no game. He is a lob catcher, rim protector only. No game. I don't even think he can dribble handoff. Like, he has no game.
He just got set screens and slip.
Does he have more
screens, roll, and then hope somebody throws it high enough to where he can go catch it?
Does he have more game than Jeff Goodman?
Slightly.
He has to.
So here there's a whole lot of nothing coming from the Damian Lillard thing. Portland refused interest in Damian Lillard, even though the Pelicans made a push to trade for him. So that's from Shams Charania, which means we can end the show. We'll see you guys later on this week. Just refer to the ending that I had earlier. That's what you